Good evening and welcome to the
Recording
Oceanside
in
Planning
progress.
Commission for Monday, July 25th. If I could get everybody to rise and Commissioner Balma lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready, begin.
Thank you. City Planner, can you do roll call, please?
Certainly. Chairman Rosales,
Present.
Commissioner Balma,
Present.
Commissioner Dodds,
Present.
Vice Chair Morrissey. Present. Commissioner Custer
Here.
and Commissioner Simons. He had
He had an excused absent.
Yep, he indicated he was going to be absent. Let the record show that 5 of the 6 members of the Planning Commission are present. We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Following the agenda then, communications for matters not on the agenda tonight. Any slips to speak on items not on the agenda?
Not this evening, Chair.
Great, thank you. So we'll move to the next item, approval of minutes from our last meeting, July 11th. Commissioners, any comments, edits, or a motion?
I make the motion to approve the minutes from last Planning Commission.
Thank you. We have a motion, Commissioner Obama, second,
I'll second.
and a second, Commissioner Custer. All in favor? I think we should have our screens, isn't it? Yes, there we go. Please vote.
Chair Rosales, let the record show that the motion passes 4-0 with Vice Chair Morrissey abstaining.
Thank you. Consent calendar on the agenda, we have no items listed tonight and no items under transportation items. We have 3 items under public hearings. We'll start with the first one. Item 4 is consideration of a regular coastal permit to allow construction of a single-family home located at 74 St. Malo Beach. Applicant is Jones Family Trust. Disclosures, I'll start. We got a staff report. I'm familiar with the location, having been by there many times. Commissioner Custer?
Staff report, I read the staff report and looked at it on Google Maps.
Thank you. Vice Chair Morrissey?
Reviewed the staff report and familiar with the site and read the documents.
Thank you. Commissioner Obama?
Staff report and Google Maps.
And Commissioner Dodds?
I read the staff report and I'm familiar with the area.
Thank you. We'll have a presentation this evening by Delaney Carmen. Welcome, Delaney.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Delaney Carmen with the Planning Division. I'm here tonight to discuss agenda item number 4, regular coastal permit RC 2110. The applicant is requesting a regular coastal permit for the construction of a single-family residence at 74 St. Malo Beach. The project is located within the St. Malo community in the South Oceanside planning area in the appealable jurisdiction of the local coastal program. The project site is designated single-family detached residential by the city's general plan and low-density residential by the city's local coastal land use plan. Per the city zoning ordinance, the property is zoned R1 single-family residential. The site is bordered by single-family residences to the north, west, and south, and the Buena Vista Lagoon to the east. The proposed project consists of a 2-story, 4-bedroom, 5.5-bath, single-family residence on a vacant 0.18-acre site with 4,714 square feet of living area and a 634 square foot garage. The architectural design matches the French Normandy-themed architecture of the St. Malo community and consists of white stucco walls with accent materials of brick and wood beams throughout the residence. In terms of zoning ordinance compliance, the project complies with applicable development standards for the R1 district. As detailed in the staff report, staff has evaluated the project and finds it consistent with the general plan and local coastal program. There will be no impact to public coastal access and no removal of parking proposed. The project's proposed density is consistent with the surrounding single-family detached residential land use designation and the proposed architecture is consistent with the surrounding neighborhood and has been approved by the St. Malo Architectural Committee. Therefore, staff recommends the Planning Commission confirms issuance of a Class 3 categorical exemption per SQL Article 19, Section 15303A, new construction or conversion of small structures, and approve regular coastal permit RC 2110 by adopting Planning Commission Resolution Number 22P18 with findings and conditions of approval attached herein. This concludes staff's presentation, and the applicant, John Beery, and myself will both be available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Delaney. Applicant's representative, Mr. Beery, I think it is, are you present? Would you like to come up and do a presentation, be available for some questions? Before we go there, any commissioners' questions or comments?
Good evening. I'm
Good
the
evening.
architect for the project. Basically, I'm here to answer any questions that you want. Delaney did an excellent presentation of the project that's being presented.
Great,
So-
thank you. I don't see my panel lit up, so I don't think we have any questions at the moment. This seems pretty straightforward. Thank you. That being said, it is a public hearing, so we invite the public to provide input. Any slips to speak on this item?
Chairman Rosales, yes, we have one slip
Great.
for Craig Stewart.
If you would come forward and, for the record, give us your name.
My name's Craig Stewart. I own the property next door at 72 St. Malo. I'm not totally opposed to the property or the project itself, but we'll just add value to the general area and be a beautiful project when it's completed. My only concern, or a couple concerns, is privacy, window lines between the two properties, and something I can talk with the developer, I guess, since he's, or the gentleman, the architect behind me, and talk with. And I just received notices today from a neighbor who I'd never received it in the mail, so I didn't know anything about it. So I kind of came down here with really not prepared. So I'm just concerned about privacy and elevations between the property, but according to what I was able to get in the last 10 minutes, the elevations seem somewhat very similar. I worry about, as we all do, about water runoff from one property to another. So those are considerations I have personally. Like I said, I'm not opposed to the project. There's issues I will need to talk with this gentleman I just saw the first time. So those are my concerns. Those privacy and elevations regarding water runoff from one property to another. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, sir. No other slips, but we invite the public, if you didn't submit a slip, to come forward. Anybody would like to comment on this item before we close it? Not seeing anybody come forward, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to commissioners for deliberation or a motion.
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Go right ahead.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we confirm issuance of a Class 3 categorical exemption for new construction or conversion of small structures pursuant to Section 15303 of the California Environmental Quality Act, and approve regular coastal permit by adopting Planning Commission Resolution Number 2022 P18 with findings and conditions of approval attached herein.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Custer for the action requested. Second?
I'll second.
And it looks like Commissioner Obama, you had a question, or you were just going to?
No, I was going to also second it and also commend the architect and the owner for such a nice-looking project. And I'm sure it follows all the rules as has been stated in the staff report, so I'm sure your setbacks and your concerns for safety are all hopefully going to be taken care of. Hopefully get to talk to the architect, the applicant, the neighbor that was here. Might be kind of a good way to kind of just to make sure you're feeling good, but I think it's all good. Thank you very much for a great project.
Thank you. And so we have a second from Commissioner Dodds. No further comments. Let's go ahead and vote.
Chair Rosales, let the record show that the motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Good luck with your project. We'll move then to item 5 on the agenda, which is consideration of general plan amendments, zone amendments, and a development plan related to a project at 4665 and 4617 North River Road. Project is known as the Tierra Norte. Applicant is SoCal Ag Properties and Nagata Brothers, LLC. Disclosures, staff report, this is my disclosure, staff report, I think a couple of emails that we received, and very familiar with the location, having driven by many times. Commissioner Custer?
Read the staff report, looked on Google Maps, went over and drove around the area again, and read the emails.
Thank you. Vice Chair Morrissey?
I read the staff report, visited the site, familiar with the site, and read some of the emails. Some didn't come through, but I did read some.
Great. Commissioner Valma?
I was on the Planning Commission when we recommended the density changes to the site back in 2013. I also am very familiar with the landowner and know the site very well as I drive it probably almost every day. I read all the emails and the staff report. That's pretty much it.
Thank you. And Commissioner Dodds?
I've read the staff report. I'm very familiar with the area, and I did visit the site.
Thank you. I, too, was on the commission in 2013 when we changed the density. Good evening, Mr. Madera. You'll be presenting tonight for us.
Yes, Chairman Rosales, thank you. Chair, Planning Commissioners, as you know, my name is Sergio Madera. I'm the city planner for Oceanside and the project manager for the Tierra Norte project. The project is unique in that it's actually comprised of two separate applications, two separate property owners, but it's been analyzed as one project for the purposes of CEQA and for planning purposes, so there'd be a unified design at the site. The application is comprised of 3 entitlement requests, a request for a general plan amendment, a request for a zone amendment, and a request for a development plan for the purposes of adopting a PBD overlay, plan block development overlay at the site. Got ahead of myself here. So briefly, the project site's located on the south side of North River Road, in between Douglas Drive and College Avenue. The site is currently partially developed with some industrial buildings on both portions. The larger the site, the westerly site, is about 16 acres in area and has an industrial building, a warehouse built here, a single-family home built here, and it's historically been used for the raising of row crops. The easterly site, which is almost 10 acres in area, has a number of warehouses and industrial-type buildings that they were used to be used for agricultural packing house. There's also a road, Cuyahoga, kind of developed on a portion of it. Surrounding uses include residential uses across North River Road in a variety of densities, single-family residential to the west. There's an intervening parcel between the project site and the San Luis Rey River, and to the east of the project site is the auto auction, and there is a self-storage and RV facility also. So the first request that for being considered tonight, a recommendation to City Council, is a request for a general plan amendment to render the site from industrially zoned land to residentially zoned land. The graphic above depicts the existing general plan land use designation of light industrial and the proposed general plan land use designation of medium density C residential. It also depicts the existing surrounding land uses that include similar land uses that are being proposed by this application. As part of our analysis for the project, staff wanted to understand the development pattern, the residential development pattern in the immediate vicinity. It's quite interesting in how wide of density ranges exist. Immediately to the west are REB zoned lands, and the densities on these properties are about 3.19 units to the acre. On the north side of North River Road, there are varying densities from as low as this RS zoned area at approximately 6 units an acre to as high as this RH zoned property that's about 19.3 units an acre. The area that staff analyzes is outlined, is denoted by this red line, which is a 1,500-foot radius around the project site, which is the same radius at which we notice these applications. So staff's finding is that the proposed density of medium density C residential at a capped density of 16.8 units an acre is consistent with the relevant general development pattern in the vicinity. The site, the next entitlement being considered tonight is a zone amendment. This graphic depicts the existing zoning designation of limited industrial, and it also shows the proposed designation of medium density C with the PBD overlay. We'll get into the PBD overlay in just a moment. So one of the applications being considered tonight is a development plan pursuant to Article 24 of the zoning ordinance. Development plans, plan block development text are adopted via a development plan application. So this graphic depicts the cover page for the PBD document that will be the regulatory document under which this site would be developed in the future. It contains development standards, permissible uses, product types that would be allowed, design guidelines, and most importantly, it contains this table in here, which limits the density to 400 units on both parcels combined. There's nothing that would prevent units from being transferred between the two parcels, but it would be limited to 400 units total, where the range would allow the range of the MDCR land use designation would allow closer to 500 units. Also important to note are some of the site development standards that are being proposed as part of the PBD text, and they're denoted here in this table, which is part of the document. It was also included in the staff report. Most of the standards are consistent with the RMC zone, the underlying RMC zone, but there are some standards that are more restrictive, and the reason those were included in this document were to be sensitive to existing surrounding residential land uses. Some of the more restrictive zoning ordinance or PBD development standards include increased setbacks from the perimeter edge, a maximum building heights of 35 feet rather than 36 feet. It requires more usable open space per unit than the zoning ordinance does. And it does have a higher requirement for guest parking as compared to the underlying zone parking requirements found in Article 31 of the zoning ordinance. As part of our review and analysis of the proposed request, we required the applicant to prepare a fiscal impact analysis. What the fiscal impact analysis showed is that the development under the proposed residential land use compared to development under the existing industrial land use would result in a net annual taxes, a net total benefits to the city of over $13 million compared to development under the existing industrial land use. Some of the issues that make industrial development in this area are first and foremost access to the site. It's located north of the river, and there already has constrained access over the two existing bridges that gives access to North River Road. And the other difficulty in developing an industrial project at this site is its adjacency to a host of residential land uses. That would create some incompatibilities. It's not the highest and best use of the site as found by the prepared fiscal impact analysis. With that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt the resolutions recommending approval to the City Council of the project. We should note one correction. We had published a resolution that was named 2022 P20. That was a resolution number that was previously used. That correction has been made to the document that would be considered tonight, and it's actually resolution P22. That concludes my presentation. I'll be available for any questions that the Planning Commission may have. I do know that the applicant has prepared a presentation, and they would be available for any questions that you might have also.
Thank you. Any questions for the city planner? Yes, one question, Commissioner Bama.
Thanks, Sergio. I have two questions. One kind of relates to each other. You had said that I think that the highest density, I think it's medium density C, which is across the street. If this project is also going to kind of follow that one, you said that could actually allow up to 500 units, but you're limiting this PBD to 400 units, correct?
That is correct, Commissioner Bama.
And then the other question is that density bonus, can that also limit density bonus on this project because we have a PBD plan?
No, nothing in law that I'm familiar with would preclude a future developer from invoking density bonus on a future residential project. That's a possibility that could occur. Nothing in the law would preclude that.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question, Sergio, about the fiscal impact assessment. I see in the staff report that it's required whenever there's a change to the land use. That's why we're seeing it in the report. Interesting information. Was it vetted by, so the applicant's financial person created the report or their consultant, was it vetted by anybody internally? Or?
The staff reviewed it. We commented on the first submittal of it, which didn't include analysis of costs to the city with respect to industrial development. So it was revised once. It wasn't vetted outside of the city.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Don't see any at the moment. You said we had a presentation by the applicant, the representative?
Thank you, Sergio. Dan Niebaum with the Lightfoot Planning Group, offices in Carlsbad. Pleasure to be here this evening. I'm here with the owners of the property, Neil Nagata and Jay Kawano are here this evening, and also members of our team, of our traffic consultant, our ER consultant are here this evening. You know, as you'd mentioned, this goes back a little bit. I think it was 2014 when we finally got in front of the general plan review committees in front of Planning Commission and City Council and got the favorable motion to move ahead with this. And a number of technical items and city policy items have kind of occurred since then, but here we are tonight, so we're very happy to be here. As Sergio had mentioned, you know, we're seeking a general plan amendment, a zone change amendment, and a plan block development overlay with a plan block development plan for this project. You know, both parcels are located adjacent to each other on North River Road. And both owners have agreed to work together as far as the EIR processing goes. They both filed separate applications, but we've been working in concert with both owners to process the applications here the last couple of years. I want to show this graphic to show you the project area that I think you're well aware of, but you know where it sits in the context of the North Valley area, the site in the middle, and this is a 1 mile radius with the white circle around that. Shows that, you know, we're over a mile from Mission Avenue, and when we're talking about the context of this site and its appropriateness for light industrial use on this property, you know, our contention has always been it's not appropriate for contemporary light industrial development. It's the parcels are kind of remnants from the ag uses from many years ago, and this helps show in context how far away the site is from one of the main you know, corridors that is identified for commercial industrial development in the city. Again, processing the general plan amendment, the zone change amendment, and the PBD plan. And it was asked about and discussed, and Sergio had mentioned it, and that was one of the specific things that we wanted to do through this process is that PBD plan caps the development of 400 units. That's that 16.8 dwelling units per acre, which is the low end of the RMC. And so, yeah, you could, you know, experience a much higher development number on the property, but early on, we didn't want to do that. In fact, originally, the project was submitted as residential high density, and going through the general plan review process and working with staff, we'd lowered it to RMC, which was felt to be a more appropriate site. And RMC gives, you know, it doesn't mean something will be developed at 400 units, but it gives a lot more flexibility to look at product types on the site and look at being able to deal with edge conditions and existing development that's adjacent to the site. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. I'm going to follow up on our PV plan a little bit as well. So our project context is, again, this is an infill residential development, and it's going to repurpose an underutilized site and provide, you know, much needed housing options in Oceanside. There'll essentially be workforce housing will be the focus of a medium density residential development here. And then, you know, this aligns with long-term city planning projections, looking at where light industrial properties are appropriate and looking at where residential properties are appropriate. And again, as I'd mentioned, this location is just simply not feasible to support a successful industrial development at this site going forward. These are the land use general plan maps that Sergio had shown you, so I'll go through these fairly quickly. I wanted to show this one. This is the city zoning map. The PBD site is shown there in the lower area in the hatching. And, this, when you look at the zoning map, shows some of those areas Sergio talked about. There's a variety of RMC, RH. The areas up at the North River Road, Vandergrift, that's the mixed-use project up there that isn't really mixed use, but it's developed at an RMB, RMC density, and there's RMC multifamily up there. The Riverview projects to the west are at RMB and RMC densities. This graphic, maybe it's a little hard to read, but shows some more of those densities where those numbers really vary from 12 to 20 units per acre with the RMB and RMC densities that again are, clustered throughout that area along the North River Road corridor. And as staff had pointed out, we think the density proposed here is very appropriate for, to be compatible with what's the surrounding areas and various developments are up there. But this will be a compatible development under this development plan when that comes forward. Again, there's no development specifically proposed tonight. We're proposing the plan, and any future development would come back in front of you as part of a development plan that's been reviewed under the standards that are in our PB plan and under the city zoning standards. Some of the background, again, to talk about why light industrial may or may not be appropriate here, and again, we think it's not, is we looked at the current general plan update that the city is undergoing, and they did a number of background reports related to land use proposals and land use appropriateness in the area, in the city. This information is from background report number 1, which was a market analysis that was done back in June 2021. And it basically divided the city up into those 4 districts, which are consistent with the council districts. We're in District 2, where the project site is shown. And what the consultant did there was they did evaluated market conditions related to employment uses, which includes industrial, residential, and retail uses. And they projected market demand in the near, mid, and long-term timelines. And Tierra Norte is located in Area 2 within that. Well, Area 2 wasn't appropriate for industrial development on this chart that's in the market analysis. Area 2 was appropriate for multifamily and for single-family development. So I think that's fairly significant. That was one of the items that helped inform some of the general plan decisions that have gone forward. Again, this is a map. It's just an obvious thing showing where the industrial corridor is along Oceanside Boulevard in Oceanside, and also areas near the airport and eastern Oceanside Boulevard are where you find the appropriate light industrial uses. And this also includes Alcora Zone on here, which Alcora Zone provides for a number of acres that can be considered for research and development and light industrial type uses. And then again, this is the city zoning map, and it more clearly shows you where these light industrial areas are along the Mission Highway 76 corridor, the Oceanside Boulevard corridor, and even just a little along the Highway 78 corridor. I know some of the current alternatives in the general plan amendment or general plan update for the city even call for, looking for creative uses of commercial zoning to support light industrial development. That was mentioned with, I think, Alternative B that was presented to you recently as part of the general plan update. Sergio had mentioned, the required development strategy study that we had done and fiscal impact analysis we had done, and the city had worked with us and wanted that done. We prepared a development strategy for the property, our consultant did, that looked at the supply of light industrial land in the city, locational considerations, and it looked at a site quality assessment for light industrial on this property and really determined that it wouldn't be appropriate there. The fiscal impact analysis provided a detailed analysis of the revenue generation and municipal expenditures that were going to evolve, and actually it looked at a 10-year period. I think those numbers Sergio showed you were kind of related to the 3-year development period and more related to fees and exactions, which would be much higher with the residential. But this, the FIA actually did carry it out over a 10-year period and still, showed a positive net fiscal impact for the residential proposed on this site of approximately $1.25 million per year. However, the industrial development that might go on this site was going to have a negative impact of about $70,000 a year, $700,000 over that 10-year period. And Sergio had mentioned the plan block development text, and really the purpose of, developing this plan block development plan was to combine these two properties together, provide development standards that future developments could come forward under, and give the city some assurance on what those developments might be prepared under, and hold them to a higher standard as far as design and community development standards go. The PBD plan presents site development architectural standards, and that's intended to promote a well-thought-out and highly livable residential community. And as we've mentioned, detailed site layouts for actual projects will come forward in the future as part of other development plans. Sergio had shown you the land use summary that comes from the plan. Again, this is kind of the important core of the plan. It carries out the cap of 400 units and distributes them between the two parcels based on their size. Again, they could work out a transfer mechanism between the parcels, but that would have to be done under the overall cap of 400. Some of the development standards Sergio talked about, I have them highlighted a little bit more because we did want to be cognizant of the edge conditions, and we increased the side setbacks that would be required from any existing development. So the single-family neighborhood to the west in particular, setbacks are increased over what are currently required in the zoning code, and we'd expect that anything along there would have a good edge condition situation with landscaping and appropriate setbacks and appropriate building design. So if you got to a 2 or 3 story building there, you'd be looking at a 20 to 25 foot setback, which is fairly significant. We've increased the open space requirements from the standard of 300 to 350 square feet per dwelling. When you do a medium density residential project, you have to have minimum open space, which is typical park areas within the project and recreation areas and private areas on each property. We also looked at parking standards and have kept them fairly consistent with the zoning code, but had to increase the guest total to 25% of the dwelling units, where the current standard is 20%. So there's an increase there in looking at trying to make sure that appropriate parking and guest parking will be provided as part of these projects. And again, that'll be looked at in detail with any future project. The plan also calls out the different product types that would be appropriate in the RMC area, which extends from small lot attached single-family style homes to courtyard clusters to row homes to garden apartments. And the plan has a number of these schematics in it that show what some of those different layouts might be and what their densities might be, just to give context to those proposals. And again, I mentioned the plan has community design guidelines in it, which go above and beyond the zoning code. And again, those are intended to promote compatibility between the proposed developments and the existing development and provide standards that just don't exist in the zoning code for this area. One of the only areas is the historic area that actually has design guidelines that are required. But this would be similar to the PD plans that were approved for Villa Astoria, for Melrose Heights projects in the past, where they're held to a higher standard as far as design goes. And so a number of these exist related to community design and site planning, massing and scale the buildings to try to make sure that structures are appropriately designed, again, especially adjacent to existing development. Roof form is another one, and one of the things we had talked with, I think we'd heard from the neighborhood in dealing with second and third stories, should feature, facade offsets and well-designed second and third levels and roof forms, and that's something just not in the zoning code. Additional guidelines that exist in the plan are deal with building materials and finishes, garages and accessory buildings, windows and doors, community lighting, and trash enclosures. So in summary, again, this is an opportunity to repurpose this underutilized infill site and provide realistic future housing options for the community. And again, due to its location, its development pattern, it's highly unlikely that a contemporary light industrial project would be successful here. Our development strategy study showed that the proposed medium-density residential would be successful in this market. And our fiscal impact analysis, again, as we talked about, showed that there'd be a net benefit with the residential project. So, the medium-density residential development of this property would complement, we think, the existing residential uses and provide a transition from the existing light industrial that's going to remain with the auto auction area. So we would ask you to concur with staff's recommendation tonight and recommend, as this goes forward to council, approval of the project. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions. I mentioned we have members of our team here tonight if you have any questions that they might need to answer as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Any questions for Dan before? Don't see any. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
I imagine there's a few slips for this item.
Yes, Chairman Rosales, we have 7 slips this evening. I'm going to go ahead and read them about 3 or 4 names at a time. If you'll come and state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. First, we'll have Michael White, John Coffey, and Maria Coffey.
If you would come forward, I think we have both dioceses available. Again, your name, and you have 3 minutes. And if you need to, bring the mic close to you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Michael White, and I've come here this evening to present the concerns of myself and my neighbors in the Rancho Pacifica neighborhood, which is immediately adjacent to the Tierra Norte proposed development site. As evidence of those concerns, I've submitted an 18-page petition signed by a number of those residents, which has been entered as part of the public record. Our area is hardly able to support the existing density of development, and the additional density proposed at Tierra Norte is of great concern to us for a number of reasons. Traffic in our area is at times in a near gridlock situation. During peak hours, the backup of traffic on Douglas Drive and College Boulevard is extreme. It's my understanding that a traffic study of the area resulted in a failing grade for the intersections of North River Road and College Boulevard and Douglas Drive and North River Road. In addition, some years ago, an emergency evacuation of the Rancho Pacifica neighborhood as a result of the Lilac fire was nearly impossible due to the number of vehicles attempting to leave the area. So we're wondering, how is bringing 1,000 or more vehicles on a parcel with only one avenue of ingress and egress, that being North River Road, going to affect the traffic situation? Parking is another concern in our area. We currently have overflow parking on a number of streets in our neighborhood from the surrounding medium-density development. 400 additional homes on a 25.6-acre site can only exacerbate that situation. A lower density development would offer new residents on-site parking instead of sending them in search of parking via North River Road, which offers no parking at all. If I'm not mistaken, an environmental assessment of the project showed no significant impact from the proposed development. However, as a result of the continuing drought, here in California, each of us is encouraged to reduce our use of water as much as possible. The city of San Diego, for example, has put in place restrictions on use of water for irrigation and various other purposes. In addition, the state of California offers a cash incentive for replacing turf with other less thirsty vegetation. So adding 400 homes on these parcels, we feel, would result in a significant increase in the demand for water. Now, we in Rancho Pacifica are not asking that you not develop additional housing at all. We realize that some development is inevitable. We ask only that you develop these last remaining parcels at a density that mirrors the density of our adjacent neighborhood, that being single-family detached homes. Doing that would support your stated goal, and I'm quoting now from your representatives Dan Niebaum and Kelly Canister at the neighborhood meeting in December 2021, that goal being, quote, promoting compatibility between new and existing development.
Thank you. Nick.
Coffey to come forward, please. You have 3 minutes
My
to
name is
speak.
Maria Coffey, and I live along the 16 acres where this new project would be. And he brought up a lot of what I was going to talk about already. But privacy issues and security issues concern me too, with that amount of units behind our house. And also right now, as he mentioned, the streets, the infrastructure is not good for us already, and we're adding more traffic, more vehicles to that. I'm not opposed to single-family, multiple family units. We have that directly across the street, and the overflow parking is through our neighborhood now. And if we're doing the same thing on the right-hand side, our backyard, I feel that's going to result in more. You only said 2-car garages is what I thought I heard. We have 3-car garages, and it's not enough. So it's going to be more traffic in our neighborhood. And as I said, privacy, I don't know, 2-story, 3-story multifamily units looking down into our backyards, and security concerns me a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Don Coffey, husband of Maria Coffey. Needless to say, we've been living there. We were original homeowners, and it's been nice. I mean, it's been really nice with the density of our neighborhood. And, I'm more worried about security than anything else because, I lost my favorite dog. She died on March 11th. But she used to get up at 12:30 at night, 1 o'clock at night. And I felt safe going out into the neighborhood to walk her out there for her to do her thing and all the rest of this stuff. And I'm just worried with all the increased density, will I have that same security? Will I still be able to walk out with my other dog, Benny, at 12:30 in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning? And that's basically my concern. I understand that they have a right to profit from their property. I'm not trying to say that they should make money out there, but how is this affecting my financial situation? Is my house going to be worth more now, or is it going to be worth less because of the density of the people? And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next, if we could get Patricia Brown, Amanda Solis, and Diane Nygaard.
Hi, good evening, Commissioners. Pat Brown, 4464 Old River Street. We're new to the neighborhood. I have some real concern about the EIR, the traffic study. The numbers don't seem to work. And the mitigation that makes the numbers work, that I have a real problem with. Adding a sidewalk in front of the project and a pedestrian bridge to the river, the bike trail, how is that going to reduce vehicle traffic? It's already a problem. And the number, I kind of question the numbers in the EIR on a number of things. The EIR dismissed both the reduced density and the reduced footprint, saying that they don't meet the city's objective. Well, and they also talk about the project is consistent or substantially similar with the surrounding density. And I don't find that to be true at all. If you guys had driven around there, the auto auction place has a very limited environmental impact and limited amount of traffic increase. Most of that lot is just paved up to the San Luis Rey River. So we're not looking at the kind of impact that 400 homes is going to make. Parking, I heard what the developer said about they're going to they've increased from 20 to 25% guest parking. Well, I was kind of curious about Villa Astoria because it's kind of on the same kind of concept, right? Well, if you go over there on a weekend in the afternoon, when most people are going to be out and about, there's no parking there. They're parking on every available street plus every guest parking. I don't see how the numbers add up on this. Plus, I don't see a consideration now that the North River Farms project is going to be going ahead. I don't think that the EIR takes that into account now. The circumstances have changed. The transportation study, I think, is outdated. I don't think you're taking into account North River Farms, that project and the impact. I'm also concerned about funding for you're not going to be able to, there's no funding to expand the bridge, and that is the intersection that's really going to be impacted. And the sewer situation, your wastewater. Who's going to pay for the new sewer lift or district or whatever you want to call it? The EAR part of that says that it's not going to be able to handle it with 400 units. That's what I want to bring up. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Hi, Planning Commission. My name is Amanda Solis. I believe you guys have received my emails. Thank you for reading them. I live right next to the development in question in the Rancho Pacifica neighborhood, and I'm asking you to please deny this project because I believe the density is just too high, it's unsustainable, it's incompatible with the surrounding neighborhoods, which mostly consist of light industrial, single-family residential, and estate. There's very few MDCR locations nearby, so I don't think that it's compatible. More importantly, though, on the density, per the project's VMT, vehicle miles traveled analysis, this area already is experiencing significant impacts. And the mitigation measures that are proposed are totally invalid. If we look at the current site, it's a farm with one single-family residence, a handful of workers. If we're being generous, it probably produces 40 trips per day on average. The VMT analysis says that a 400-unit project is going to generate an estimated 3,200 trips per day. That's an 8,000% increase. It's just not sustainable. And that's what's shown in the VMT analysis and also in the local transportation study, which you've heard there's already failing reports on certain intersections. And those effects are even worse when we look at the cumulative approvals such as North River Farms and perhaps Ocean Camp. And that's with and without the Horizon Year 2035 infrastructure improvements. Also, this is not along one of our smart sustainable corridors, which is where the city has said it will channel future housing because those are transit-friendly areas. This is not a transit-friendly area. This area does not have the public transportation or the infrastructure, and it doesn't have a plan for that in our city's future to make this a sustainable project. So again, with the incompatibility of the surrounding areas, the zoning differences, along with the density issues that cause transportation and pollution, impacts that do not reduce it below a significant threshold, I see no way that this can be approved as is, and I push for you guys to request a design that is more compatible, that is more sustainable, and a corrected VMT analysis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Diane Nygaard, and I'm here tonight representing Preserve Talavera. Tonight, while 100 million people in this country are under an extreme heat warning, and in Europe, hundreds have already died from heat, and 3 countries are on fire. We can no longer afford to ignore climate change, and that needs to be with every single project that comes before you. Tierra Norte is particularly concerning, both for its economic impacts and for its impact on climate. You all know Oceanside is not a wealthy community. That's why our city approved the EDE of our general plan back in 2019. It makes it clear we need to protect 7 economic sectors to have a strong economy. And the sector that's most challenging is industrial land. In the last 20 years, we keep losing industrial land by converting it to more housing. That was what developers wanted to do. But that's caught up with us, and the EDE made it clear we need more industrial land. They estimated 75 acres, more, not less. And I can tell you the arguments you heard earlier tonight about why not this project, this one is perfect for conversion. If you go back 20 years and you look at every time a developer wanted to convert that land to housing, you got the same kind of argument. Approving the conversion of 24 more acres of industrial land to housing just moves our city backwards. Our written comment letter explained in detail how this project failed to address the VMT and GHG that will come from this project. Over 40% of our greenhouse gases in Oceanside come from transportation. Approving more sprawl housing like this just exacerbates that, and it'll make it harder to grow where our general plan says we need to grow, along our major transportation corridors where people have choices. This is a discretionary approval. You can say no, and we urge you to do just that for the economic health of Oceanside and for the health of all of us who live on planet Earth. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can get our final speaker, Orita Rhodes, please. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, everyone here. I get this letter in my mail, and I find out right across the street they want to build there on that land. I live on Avenida Descanso. I've lived over there for 32 years. I've lived in Oceanside all my life, since 1960. Oceanside has developed tremendously and has grown dramatically. This project across the street that's going to occur is going to cause a lot of safety concern, mostly for the children, elderly, parents, and everyone else. When that lilac fire came from Bonso, we were all told from the rear gate of Camp Pendleton to all the way down to Douglas, where it ended, to Camp Pendleton, all the way down to Vandergrift, all the way where the fire was coming towards us, to evacuate. It was chaos. I'll never forget the time I had everything packed by my door, ready to walk out the door, and what I saw was tremendous traffic not moving. My son, he does news for all the channels of San Diego. He went to that lilac fire, and he said, "Mom, don't move. It looks like the wind's gonna shift." We already on top of it. We're seeing where it's moving. It's moving behind over there off of Vandergrift, heading towards Camp Pendleton. A lot of horses died over there on that area of North River Road, going towards the back way into Bonsall. You add some more condos or housing or anything to where we live, it would be a chaos. We only have two exits, Douglas Bridge, we got the College Bridge. Pick your choice which way you're gonna go out when there's a fire like that. Or if it comes over the golf course behind Douglas, which there's tremendous time it has done that. So I'm asking you, please, to consider safety for all of us where we can. If anything, build another bridge. That's what we need in Oceanside. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So we've run through our speaker slips, but again, this is a public hearing. Before we close it, if you didn't submit a slip, you're welcome to come forward, give us your name. Come forward, give us your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Stan Stewart, and I live at 4407 Old River Street. Don't want to deny anybody a chance to sell their land and develop it as they want. That's kind of my thoughts on the whole project. Obviously, safety are concerns. We were there. We own one of the model homes. Every morning, there's a stop sign that gets run. I would encourage everyone on this commission to come into Rancho Pacifica, go down Avenida Descanso, see the traffic, people that park on Avenida Descanso and North River Road that are pulling into our neighborhood and parking. Notice the trash, okay? Notice also when you're doing that there's a median that passes your project, which is why I don't buy strawberries there every Saturday, because there's a strawberry vendor and I'm on the wrong side of the road, it seems like, all the time. They have to come and do a U-turn at Avenida Descanso and Old River Road in order to get into your project, okay? And so are you planning on changing the median? You didn't on the other side of Rancho Pacifica, which is my side. You developed an entire development of condos and apartments. What do you call that? Medium density housing. Anyway, and you didn't make a left-hand turn. So they go down Douglas and they can't turn left into that apartment complex. So they either have to go to North River Road, which they don't, by the way. What they do is they turn on my street, and I'm the third house in, and they do a U-turn. And if the light is green, they blast it at about 90 miles an hour to get through it. I've been hit in the crosswalk twice with my dog, run over once, and hit another time, which is why I now have 2 knee surgeries. My concern is, again, safety. My concern is, again, planning, which is, I think, what you guys do. You didn't plan a left-hand turn. I have concerns about how the planning is going to go on this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else before we close the public hearing? Okay, don't see anybody coming forward, so we'll close the public hearing and go to questions. I guess I'll start. City planner, or maybe Dan, lots of questions or comments about traffic. And I don't pass through that area too often, but I know when I do, it's challenging. There are a lot of cars out there, and just from the image we have in front of us, there's certainly a lot of housing out there. So Sergio, either you or Dan could walk us through the analysis that was done on traffic. And then parking was another issue, and that might not be solvable because I think the parking was addressed for this project, but it sounds like parking in the existing neighborhoods from overflow is an issue. So those are 2 things that I caught. And then just a broad commentary about safety issues related to fire and others. So those are 3 things I picked up. So maybe we start with the traffic analysis.
Sure. So Chairman Rosales, as part of the project, documentation and analysis of vehicle miles traveled analysis was prepared for the project as part of the EIR that was circulated for public review. In addition, there was a local transportation study prepared for the project that was reviewed and gone back and forth for our traffic engineering division a number of times and was accepted by the traffic engineering division. So it's been thoroughly vetted. There are some constrained segments and intersections that this project would add traffic to. And I don't know the details of those, but we do have the traffic engineer who prepared that study here. If you have specific questions on those, any particular intersection or segment, or the structure of the study, or any questions that you may have related to traffic.
Yeah, and if you would come forward, traffic engineer, and I don't really have a specific question. You heard all the comments. So obviously there's some challenging intersections and areas there, sort of broadly, and thank you, Sergio, for that response. Broadly, what can you tell us about the additional traffic that this project would bring in the context of there's already a lot of traffic out there, and how do we, I don't know if we can mitigate it, but how is that dealt with effectively?
Sure, absolutely. My name is Justin Rosas with LOS Engineering. I prepared the local transportation analysis and the VMT analysis. The local transportation analysis, we looked at 8 scenarios of existing with project, and we looked at roughly 16 intersections and segments. And we looked across near term and the horizon year. And basically, we had 8 impacts under existing plus project. Under near term, which included North River Farms and approximately 10 other cumulative projects, we had 9 impacts. In the horizon year, we looked at a couple of scenarios, the master transportation plan and also the alternative. And the difference between those 2 in the horizon year is one that had expanded roadways according to the city's proposed master transportation plan. That had 4 impacts, so that had lesser impacts because a lot of the roads were forecasted to be improved. Under the alternative, which did not have the roadway improvements, we had 11 impacts. So we've identified impacts failing as E or F, both segments and intersections. The project, once it's determined, this is the development block.
Right.
So we've initially come up with the overall sense of how many impacts there are with 400 units. Once the project is refined and submitted, then we go into the detail of the exact unit count, the refined number of trips, and exactly what's going to be required to mitigate either the intersection or the segment impacts at that time. On the VMT, vehicle miles traveled, we applied the CAPCOA requirements. We used SANDAG to determine we are significant from a CEQA transportation impact perspective, and the proposed CAPCOA mitigations of increased density and improving pedestrian connectivity reduce the significance to below level of significance.
So if I could kind of capture, and thank you for that information, there's a lot there, but what we're being asked to take a look at now is a conceptual development plan. Later on, when the actual development comes forward, there's another bite at the apple, if you will, for the traffic impacts and or any mitigations that will be imposed on the developer to take care of, essentially. Did I get that right?
That is correct, Chairman Rosales. So the environmental impact report prepared for the project looked at a conceptual scenario with 400 units with no detailed plans.
Right.
In the future, detailed development plans, perhaps a tentative map, will have to be processed. And at that point, they'll know the exact layout where project access points will be, and how many units there will actually be, and what the composition of those units are. The local transportation study prepared for the project, the BMT analysis prepared for the project, looked at worst case scenario. So when you refine the project and know what types of units there are, when you can identify what the actual ADT is going to be, that project would have to be consistent with what was analyzed under this draft EIR that we're asking you to make a recommendation on tonight. And so if it's not consistent, they would have to amend that EIR, either do a supplemental EIR, do an addendum to the EIR, it depends on what it is. But today what you're seeing is a worst case scenario based on a theoretical 400 units.
Okay. Again, and fellow commissioners, we can come back to any of that information. I was also struck by, thank you, Dan, for the presentation on the analysis of changing this zoning from its current status, industrial to residential. And we saw the one slide showing this little tiny pocket here is the only industrial area in that area, whereas Oceanside has most of its industrial area elsewhere. So I guess it strikes me as a reasonable request to change this over to residential, to be consistent kind of with where the city is going. But that's my thinking or my opinion, my idea. Can you expand a little bit on that, Sergio? Again, did I get that right? Really, this is just that one little pocket, and most of the industrial development in Oceanside is elsewhere along the corridors and other parts of the city, airport and so forth.
Yes, Chairman Rosales, that's an accurate statement. So this is a sort of an isolated pocket of industrial land. There's still continuing to be industrially zoned lands here because we don't believe that the auto auction is going anywhere anytime soon. And that enjoys industrial zoning as well as the self-storage facility and RV storage that's adjacent to this. As an example, the single-family residential neighborhood to the west used to be zoned industrial. Back in the early 80s, the city council voted to amend that general plan designation, and now you see low-density single-family residential development there. So most of our industrial land that's viable in the city of Oceanside, with the exception of these kind of unique uses that are adjacent to here, are located on our major east-west corridors. They're located off of 76. They're located off of Oceanside Boulevard. They're located off of 78.
Very good. I think, well, let me go back to the other things that I heard, because I don't think we touched on those. Parking, which, again, I think I got it right. Parking for the site development as proposed is adequate, but parking as it relates to the impacts on the existing neighborhoods from all sorts of other locations may exacerbate that issue. And that's outside the scope of what we're being asked to look at here. It's a concern and a valid concern, but it's outside the scope of what we're being asked to take a look at or consider. Is that
Chairman
accurate?
Rosales, I would agree with your statement. It's a comment we often hear when this body's been asked to consider various housing projects, is that existing parking impacts from other uses impacts certain neighborhoods. There was a conscientious decision made by the applicant to increase the parking requirements for this project through the PBD text to kind of address that issue to the extent feasible.
And lastly, I think somewhat outside the scope of what we're being asked to look at here, the issue of privacy or security, uncertainty for the neighborhoods, aside from the one comment which I agree with, and that is the issue of additional traffic as it relates to the context of another fire coming into the area, and the ability of the residents in that general broad area to try to get out of there. But just on privacy and security concerns to existing neighborhoods, is that something we can ask the future developer to be more either mindful of or actually build into an operational agreement with the developer?
That's Chairman Rosales, it's a difficult question to answer. So there has been some conscientious thought given to future development at the site, and so some of the more restrictive development standards that we've highlighted in our presentations kind of address some of those privacy issues. When you want to go above the first level, you have to increase your rear yard setback when you're adjacent to existing development. So those development standards should adequately address those concerns. Other potential features could be to move development further away from these yards with perhaps an open space or cars. So a lot of those details are going to be worked out in the future when we actually physically site plan the site. At this point, we don't know what potential layouts could be, so we can't easily address those concerns.
Yeah. But again,
and if there's existing conditions that that perhaps exacerbate crime or lack of safety, those are things that the OPD handles. And so OPD reviewed this and didn't have any comments on this particular aspect of the project.
Great, thank you. I feel like I'm hogging all the questions and commentary. Commissioner Dodds, go ahead.
Some of the issues that I had initially, I was waiting for both of the presentations to be completed, was traffic. And it was confirmed from our constituents is that area, it's one way, basically a one way in, one way out. When I drove by yesterday, coming westbound on North River Road, I realized that you did have to make a U-turn in order to get access to that area. Is there any plan to make access to that area any easier?
Commissioner Dodds, I'd rely on the applicant, perhaps the traffic engineer, to address that question. There are different scenarios that have been analyzed. I believe one of them would be a signalized intersection at one of the project entrances, but I will defer that question to the applicant.
Yeah, gave me it again, Dan Niebaum. Commissioner Dodds, yes, and Justin could back this up if we need to get into more detail, but as part of the traffic study and future concepts, we've looked at a centralized signalized entry for this property that would line up with Riverview Court, which is kind of the multifamily entrance that's across from kind of the center of the project site. So that's been one of the scenarios to get in and out of the properties would be a centralized signalized access point. Obviously, those are concerns with the U-turn and being able to get into different points. There are different access points along different points of this property. Cuyahoga comes around to the south and the backside of the eastern parcel. And there's probably, when we have a formal development scenario in front of you, there's going to be different details worked out with those accesses. And I'm sure fire is going to want multiple access points in and out of this property as well. And we believe those are available at the site.
So I'm sorry, just one more question. Sure. So are we waiting to find out what the actual development is going to be before we set that type of plan?
Well, what would come back would be a formal development plan, and that would be required to come back in front of review by staff and review by this body. We don't have that now.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Baume, go ahead.
Thank you. The bridge, which in traffic is part of the bridge, but the bridge is something that I have a very soft spot for, because I was one of those people in the Lilac Fire that was probably on North River Road right in front of your houses trying to evacuate when we were trying to evacuate. A bridge is needed. North River Farms and now this project and any other future development. Can the city actually add, like we have fee structures for in lieu fees for affordable, we have in lieu fees for traffic signals and all kinds of things. I think in this area and all of the development that happens in the future needs to have an in lieu fee for a bridge. And because I don't think we can really, to not just put it on one project, it's got to be something where we look at as a whole, because it's going to happen. I mean, as we keep building out more houses, this one's 400, North River Farms is almost 600. It's a lot of people trying to go on that same road. So is there any way of adding that into the future of, development as it goes through just anybody? If they're doing a ADU, or if whatever they're doing in their little world of these houses, can you add on like a fee for a bridge?
So Commissioner Baume, to generally answer your question, there would have to be a project on the books for the city to start collecting the fee on, and then the city council would have to approve an additional fee. So it's not out of the realm of impossibility, but it's not a project on the books now. There is a bridge called for further down North River Road in our circulation element, but that's not a funded project, nor is it one that we've explored yet.
Well, this project is on the books, and so's other future projects. This is just coming down the road. So we'd have to go to city council then to ask them to ask for some kind of a structure to have a bridge fee, let's just say, added on, not just specifically this project, but this project is just in a planned, what is it? Just we're doing a plan, it's a development plan. That's not an actual developer doing anything yet. So this isn't really on the books yet.
So Commissioner Baume, just to clarify, so when I stated there's got to be a project on the books to actually build a bridge. So the city has to authorize
that's nothing. No one's ever going to, if North River Farms didn't build a bridge, who else would ever build a bridge? That's the biggest project we've had in our area, and probably one of the biggest that'll ever happen. So it's like, here we have the biggest guy, the biggest fish went through the net, I guess you could say, and now we have nothing. So there isn't a way we can do it in a cumulative way, like in all, in this area maybe just has a special assessment.
So to clarify, the North River Farms project actually has a condition of approval that requires them to fund a certain amount and build the improvements for a widened College Avenue Bridge.
Well, then does this project in the future do the same?
They will likely have to pay a fair share contribution
so
to it.
There is something built into the city's...
There could be.
There could be. Okay. All right.
But that would come with a more specific development plan that would come to this body. Later on. And or a condition to do that.
And the other,
that's accurate, Commissioner Chair Rosales.
I have a couple of questions. One is, one person brought up the idea that there's not enough sewer capacity. Is that true? I didn't think there was an issue with that, but is that a true
No,
statement?
there's Commissioner Baume, there's 34 conditions of approval from the Water Utilities Department. Any increase in capacity would be, the cost of that would be borne by any future developer of that project site.
So that's okay. The other question was for the applicant, as far as in your plan, your PBD plan, is there any kind of amenities? Because I didn't really see it in the actual descriptions for recreation, such as play areas, pools, connection to the river trail, or anything like that. That's kind of been something you could add into your developer standards, that they could look at that when they go to develop.
Well, Commissioner Baume, that's why we increased the open space requirement to put an emphasis on that there should be more open space with this project than a typical project. But again, without an actual project design, very difficult to spec where and what there should be. I mean, a connection to the river trail seems like an obvious amenity. The city would probably ask for that as an actual development plan goes through as well. But as far as where specific spaces like that would go, we couldn't put that into a plan at this level. We didn't.
Specific, I was just asking
Right.
for within your structure, like you have your development of your plan, it just lists all the different things that the plan should address. And so you're saying in the open space section, that's where you would find amenities for the people that live there. Is that that's what's in there now? I didn't really see it.
No, we don't have that in there. I mean, the expectation of that is what typically comes with open space areas in these projects, but we don't have a list of amenity items that would go in those areas.
Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Vice Chair Morrissey.
So I think that this project, the highest and best use is the building of homes in this area. It makes no sense for industrial for the many reasons the many reports that we heard about tonight. And it seems to me that in every metrics, this developer has either got less development units per acre or has more open space or has reduced his height. So it seems like to me that he's obviously trying to do the right thing and trying to be a good neighbor. We need workforce housing in the city. We need, we are required by RENA to have so many houses by a certain amount of time. And many of the things that were brought up tonight are outside the sphere of this body for this project. I mean, what's going on in a neighborhood that's got nothing to do with this one because of parking, that's not really to be adjudicated or heard tonight. That's something else. We're only here tonight to look at this project. And every metrics that I can see that's been proposed, this is a good project. And furthermore, how is it going to get paid for? When this developer, I mean, if you've ever developed and you go to the building department to pay your fees, believe me, the city gets their fees to pay for the underground, the site utilities. And there's so many things in place to make it safe that this will come, not today, not tonight, not to be talked about tonight, but in the future. So everything, I think that there's metrics in place to take care of some of the issues that came up tonight. And I think this is the only decision. I mean, the only logical decision is to allow this project to go forward.
Thank you. Commissioner Custer, go ahead.
I had questions on the bridge also, but they were more or less answered, basically all answered. At some point, the development in that area will get to the point where someone will say we need to create another exit. I mean, the fire department or whoever, when we have a concrete plan for the development. Isn't that correct? We're not going to just keep adding and adding.
That's Commissioner Custer, that's generally an accurate statement. Until we have a real development there that shows how physical is going to lay out, how many units are going to be, how much traffic is actually adding, what's their percentage of the existing volume compared to what they're adding, then they would be assessed appropriately. Fair share requirements, maybe improvement requirements, a number of host of things that they would be, a future development would be required to.
Right. So that'll be handled in the future at the appropriate time, is basically correct.
It would.
And the other thing my question was, so you know how when development is coming in along the transit corridor, the state can put a restriction on how many parking spaces so that they can't be adjusted very, very much at all from that restriction? That won't apply here because it's not on the transit corridor. Is that correct?
That's correct. So unless they invoke perhaps density bonus, which has a reduced parking requirement, they could potentially reduce parking. But the way the PBD is structured, it actually has increased parking over what Article 31 requires.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
And Commissioner Dodds.
Sorry, I need clarity. The vote today is to move forward to determine how they're going to develop. Will this come back to the Planning Commission to look at issues that the community is talking about as far as traffic and security? And does it come back to us to review what they have planned?
So Commissioner Dodd, to answer your question, I'm going to do it in two parts. Tonight, you're being asked to make a recommendation to City Council on the proposed legislative actions of changing the land use, changing the zoning, and adopting a planned block development overlay. Any future development at this site would have to come back to this body with detailed development plans, tentative maps, landscape plans to show how the site is proposed to be developed. And it can't move forward until this body would approve those subsequent development plans and track maps.
Okay, thank you, because I do have great concerns about how it impacts the neighborhoods. I did used to live in that area, so I do understand that traffic burden. We do need housing. That's not even up for discussion, but we have to consider bringing housing in and where we bring it in and how it impacts the community. We can't just bring in housing without that thought. And the Lilac Fire opened up eyes for a lot of people as far as impact and egress planning, and we fell short. And that was very, very prevalent when it happened. We cannot close our eyes to that and think that it's not going to happen again if we're going to do what we need to do as far as bringing in housing that's needed. We also have to make plans to make sure that if those fires happen again, one, everyone can exit safely. And if we're bringing in homes, that communities aren't impacted to the point to where it makes their lives miserable coming from work or just wanting to go to the store to pick up ice cream. But thank you.
Thank you. I think with that summary, thank you, Commissioner Dodds. I think it's understood that this is really step one of at least two steps. So we're being asked to recommend an action to the City Council, again, for the step one development plan change in the zoning. We will all get an opportunity when that second step comes along, a real development, to weigh in with our concerns at that point, your concerns and our thoughts. So stay tuned, stay engaged. It looks like we have one more comment before I ask for a motion or action on this item. Vice Chair Morrissey?
Just one comment before I'm going to make a motion, is that this applicant also has a right to sell this property, enjoy his property. It's part of our Constitution, it's part of our law, not to get too, traditional, but I think that we sometimes we don't take that for granted. And I think that he also has a right, or she, or whoever it is that owns it. And so I think that has to be looked at too. And as long as, I think this body, as long as it's illegal and it's a good development, that we have to look at it that way. So with that, I'd like to make a request that we adopt the staff's recommendation, and that we adopt Planning Commission Resolution number 2022-19 and Planning Commission Resolution number 2022-P20, recommending City Council certification of an EIR and approval of General Plan Amendment GPA 13-1 and GPA 13-4, zone amendments ZA 13-1 and ZA 13-8, and development plans D17-6 and D17-7 to change the general plan and zoning designations of a 25.6 acre site and adopt a PBD overlay.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Vice Chair Morrissey. I'll make a correction on your motion because I think we're being asked to adopt resolution number 2022 P22, if that's correct.
There's two of them, yes, Chairman Rosales. One is P 2022 P19, and the other one is 2022 P22.
Great, thank you. So with that edit, Vice Chair Morrissey, we have your motion. A second on that motion? Anybody?
I'll second that.
We have a second on Vice Chair Morrissey's motion by Commissioner Custer. So let's go ahead and vote.
Chairman Rosales, let the record show that the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, and thank you for your input this evening. Again, please stay engaged because a development plan will come to this body at some point, and you'll have an opportunity again to offer your opinion and feedback. Thank you.
Before we finish, we addressed our issue. And I told you that we have a problem now. We were trapped in our house. It doesn't matter what they do. What are you guys going to do about our emergency exit problem at we need help now.
Thank you. I would offer graciously the city planner, Mr. Madera, can connect with you or anybody who has a concern, an existing concern with your community related to parking or security. So, in other
emergency exit. I don't want to burn up in my house if we have a fire.
if you would take up your issue with city staff, and again, I'll invite Mr. Madera to be available with any concerns you might have and or his staff. So please connect with your council member and or your city staff. Thank you again. We're going to go to item 6 on the agenda.
It sounds like once the development comes through, the bridge funding will come out of it. It's going to take a catastrophe.
City council took numbers on circulation.
I know, that was another catastrophe.
Yeah, well, I want to say
You should have said that. That was a good point. They don't think about shit. That was a bridge killer.
Yeah.
All right, see that? See, you're right. See how it cleared it out, Tom? This was the bad.
But what are you going to do? I mean, city council.
We need another.
Okay, moving along to item 6 on tonight's agenda. Item 6.
Who knows what's going to happen there? It's going to.
If you could take your conversations outside so we can move along to item 6. Item 6 is consideration of general plan amendments. Excuse me. Item 6 is consideration of a tentative map and development plan and conditional use to allow the development of a horizontal mixed-use development plan consisting of a resort hotel, surfing wave lagoon, and commercial retail office space and residential units, all located at the corner of State Route 76 and Fusat. The applicant is Oceanside Partnership LLC. Project name is Ocean Camp. I'll start with disclosures. Read the staff report. I was on the Planning Commission when this property was entitled as a separate project back in 2008, and then subsequently as Ocean Camp the first time around. Also received a lot of emails and met with the applicant last week. So I think that'll cover it. Commissioner Custer, your disclosures?
I read the staff report, very familiar with the site, and read the emails.
Thank you. Vice Chair Morrissey.
Met with the applicant, visited the site, rolled out the plannings, the drawings, looked around, read the report.
Thank you. And Commissioner Obama.
I was also on the commission when we approved the pavilions project years ago in 2008. I've been to several of this applicant's public outreach meetings. Met with the developer a couple of times. Very, very familiar with the site, emails, and staff report.
And Commissioner Dodds?
I've read the staff report, and I've met with the applicant.
Thank you. Welcome again, Mr. Madera. Looks like this item is yours as well.
It is. Thank you, Chairman Rosales, members of the Planning Commission. Tonight, you're being asked to consider for review and approval applications for a tentative map, development plan, and a conditional use permit for a mixed-use development known as Ocean Camp. You're also being asked tonight to certify the supplemental environmental impact report that was prepared for this project. The application consists of 3 entitlement requests, a tentative map to create a subdivision for residential and commercial purposes, a development plan to approve the actual commercial resort component of the project, and a conditional use permit to establish a horizontal mixed-use development at the project site. by way of background, this site is 92 acres in area. It was historically used as a drive-in theater, and that ceased operations, I think, in sometime the early 2000s, and it continued on as a swap meet until 2018. During that time, a regional shopping center was approved at the project site known as the Oceanside Pavilion, which would have entailed 950,000 square feet of various commercial uses, including big box retail, movie theaters, drive-through uses, traditional shopping center. With the change in the way commerce is managed today or is transacted today, the demand for that type of retail space is diminishing. The applicant purchased this property in 2018, and at that time they had an extension of time approved to keep the pavilion entitlements alive, and they started developing the site under the pavilion. Today, the site's been graded. Grading's been ongoing at the site since 2019, and approximately 400,000 cubic yards of material has been brought in to bring the site out of the floodplain and render it developable. Surrounding uses of the site include, to the north, a desalting plant for the city's water utilities department, the San Luis Rey River and existing single-family residences beyond the San Luis Rey River. To the east is a SDG&E transmission corridor and single-family residences beyond. To the south of the project site are Mission Avenue and Highway 76, and beyond those are existing single-family, commercial, and public, semi-public uses such as the fire station number 7. So the first entitlement being requested is a subdivision map to subdivide the property into 23 lots. There are going to be common space lots that would be used for landscaping, drainage facilities, et cetera, private roads, privately maintained roads, I should say. There will be some lots created for financing purposes for the commercial component of the project. And there are also 9 lots being created for future residential development at the project site. This graphic depicts sort of how the horizontal mixed use has been designed. The area in pink is the resort hotel, which includes a surf lagoon. The peach colored area are the commercial component of the project. The yellow are the parking that supports those 2 uses. The various shaded blue lots are the proposed residential lots that are just being created right now. Subsequent applications will have to be processed for future development of those residential lots. And then there's also common space lots. Here's a more detailed look at the commercial component of the project. In the pink here is the resort hotel. This is the surf lagoon. There's a 300-key resort hotel, which is comprised of 3 different types of units, actually 4 different types of units. There's a main hotel building, which will be 4 stories in total. There's some villas that'll have a couple units in them each. They're located here and here. Then there's these casitas that'll be adjacent to the surf lagoon. And then finally, there are permanent Airstream trailers that would be affixed and provided with services that will be there also as guest rooms. The project also includes a 18,000 square foot conference space and a Aussie Surf Club, which is not exclusive for the use of the resort. The commercial component is comprised of these buildings here within the Peach area, totaling 134,000 square feet, where a variety of retail, commercial, services, entertainment, recreational, office uses could be located in the future. Here's a little more detailed site plan that shows the building layout. And here's a flavor for, some elevations that gives you what the architectural theme of the project is proposed. The use of natural materials and glass has been highlighted in all the commercial and hotel resort buildings. The landscape plan is shown here. Project meets all the requirements for landscaping that the city has. And this exhibit shows all the open space that's being provided at the project site in various components. And so the residential component of the project will have a minimum of 15% open space, while the balance of the open space has been included in the commercial and under the SDG&E corridor. Here's a exhibit that depicts the extensive bike and pedestrian paths that are being created as part of the project site. It's a little difficult to see at this scale, but there's dashed lines that show pedestrian paths, and then there's dotted lines that show bike paths, which include this pump track that's going to be located in the SDG&E corridor. I believe overall there's 1.5 miles bike tracks included in the project site. As part of the approval of the project, we'll be adopting a mixed-use development plan text. It's similar to the item you just considered. It'll regulate future development at the site. It includes guidelines of permissible uses, development standards, product type for the residential. Most importantly, what it does is it caps the density at 25.5 units an acre overall at the project site. Under Article 30, Section 3042, mixed-use development plans, commercial sites can go up to a maximum of 29 units an acre. Within the project, it's being limited to 25.5 units per acre, and that's going to be a function of this mixed-use plan text. The project also underwent a public review of a supplemental EIR, which utilized the Pavilion EIR as the basis for analysis. There was a public review period, comments were received, and those comments were addressed in the final supplemental EIR that's been provided to you online. With that, staff is asking that you certify the supplemental EIR for the project by adopting Resolution 22P15 and approving the project by adopting Resolution 22P16. That concludes my staff report. The applicant has prepared a presentation for your viewing, and I'd be available for any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you, Sergio. Any questions for staff? Don't see any right now, so applicant, if you want to come forward and give us your name for the record, and then you launch into your presentation.
Gotcha. Good evening, Chairman Rosales and Honorable Planning Commissioners. Thank you for having us here this evening. I'm kind of thrilled to be here. We've been working on this project for 4 years, so this is feels like a major step along our path to getting this project approved. So thank you. I'm going to try to be brief in my presentation. Mr. Madera's presentation was very thorough. I know you already, most of you, I think all of you already know a lot about the project, and I just want to be able to save some time for rebuttal, if needed. Here today, I'm John Korn, and I'm here today with our core staff who's sitting with me over in this section of the audience. And also, we've assembled for this project a literal A-team of design professionals and technical consultants that have all been very excellent and have worked very closely with staff. And they're here today too, in the event questions are asked, which are over my pay grade, which is highly likely. Also, let me just take a minute to thank staff. Your staff is excellent. They're very thorough, very rigorous, and very professional, and I've enjoyed working with them on this project and other projects as well. Let me see if I can do this. So what's before you here is basically an artist rendering done by our architect Carrier Johnson that shows the commercial zone as we've depicted it. It shows a lot of the open space, and it shows what you see is that it's anchored by this transformative community resource, which is the Wave Lagoon. And the Wave Lagoon is just going to be a thrilling feature that's an economic driver for the city and is going to be a draw, we believe, for not only Oceanside residents, but from people around the country and even around the world. We're envisioning with this development, because it has residential and office and retail and the Wave Lagoon, we're envisioning a place that's going to be a live and work here with this development that's anchored by just an exciting feature of this outdoor amenity. It's going to be highly walkable, highly bikeable. It's going to have the pump track, which Mr. Madera pointed out. And then we already have the city skate park to the northwest of the project, which we're also going to work with the city to improve upon. We're going to make sure it has permanent water and better lighting and make it safer, et cetera. So that's going to be really fun too. Oceanside, as I'm sure you all know, ranks very high in California's surf history and surf culture, and we want to honor that and hopefully improve upon it. With the way that we're doing this. This next slide shows you the full site plan where the commercial zone is filled in with a rendering, and then it shows the north residential area and the east residential area. The north residential area is envisioned as our for sale product, and we work with the city on a basically what's called a residential trigger, where we'll get to work right away on the north side for the for sale housing. However, the east side multifamily location is going to be connected to making substantial progress on the commercial development. We want to make sure that the city gets the commercial development that we're promising as part of this, and not just like I think another project maybe happened down the road for the city. It was a mixed-use program where the residential got built and then the commercial, not so much. That's not going to happen this way. So.
Sir, excuse me, if we could not interrupt the speaker. If we could not interrupt the speaker, it's his time, please, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, no problem. So Highway 76 in Mission is in the south side, is in the bottom of this slide, and then Fusat runs on the left side of the slide over this way. And just to answer that question, but thank you, Chair, for what you said. So here this slide just focuses in on the commercial zone. And by the way, let me address residential more for a minute. It's going to be for sale to the north or rent to the east with about 1.5 miles of trails. And what we're hoping to do is also help the city achieve its RHNA requirements that the state and SANDAG, have mandated on the city. I think the city by 2029 needs to add 5,400 housing units. So this will take a chunk out of that with up to 700, which is what we're asking for. And then also on our housing, we're going to go with 10% affordable. There'll be 5% built on site, and then we're going to do 5% with an in lieu fee. And I don't quite know how to do the calculation of that, but it's a very substantial sum. Also, there's the pump track between the two, and then there's going to be parks in each residential zone that are connected by walking trails and bike trails, so there'll be connectivity between the two. Now I'm on to this slide. I jumped ahead of myself, which just shows the commercial zone. And let me just describe each component to you a little bit. The site is anchored, and the center of gravity for the whole development is the Wave Lagoon. I've got to go see a couple of these that are existing, and whether you're a surfer or a non-surfer or whatever, they're just thrilling to watch because there's so much action going on. They're just a kind of a pleasure to be there. And some of the ones that I've seen, they're attracting, huge amounts of people who go there to enjoy a beverage or a snack or a dinner because they love being there just to basically, watch people surf, right there. There was that old saying you heard realtors say where they say, well, you should pay this much for this beachfront property because they're not making any more of it. And in this case, because of technology, we actually can. And that's really what we're able to do here is go a couple miles inland, right on the river, right on the bike trail, and build some oceanfront property that more and more people can enjoy. So what we're kind of envisioning for here is you can live here and you can work here, and you could come home from work at the end of the day and stroll through the commercial zone with your kids and strollers and have fun shops to look at, fun things to do, and it all kind of terminates at the Wave Lagoon, where there's going to be all this excitement with kids and even adults. I guess everyone surfing. That's kind of what goes in here. There's a lot to do action-wise. It's going to be action-oriented place where you can surf, you can swim, you can skate, or go to the pump track. You can SUP, you can stroll around, you can cycle. I tried to get, what's that called? Is it alliteration where you get all S's going? Or you can yoga. I guess we could have said stretch and then we would have had all S's. And that's all to happen here. Okay. Here's a rendering of what the Wave Lagoon looks like when it's turned off, which probably won't be that often, frankly. We're going to be cranking out, waves, perfect waves for people to ride. By the way, this is oriented so that it's pointing towards the prevailing wind. The machine that generates the waves is on the east side of this, going to be facing the, the prevailing wind coming off the ocean. In surfing, you always prefer to have an offshore wind, and basically that's what you're going to have here, is a perfect wave all around it. It really kind of creates the endless summer. When it's not on, then you can swim in it and SUP in it, et cetera. And then when it is on, in addition to surfing, whitewater is going to roll up on the beaches on the west side that kids can play in. And that happens to be also where the restaurants are going to be. So, while you're maybe enjoying a beverage or a snack or dinner, your kids can just be running amok, down on the beach and having fun down in a very safe environment. By the way, one of our technical advisors is from a company called SurfLock. They're one of the leading wave pool technology providers. 3 of their personnel, including Tom Lockfeld, who's the owner, are here today to answer questions about wave pools in general. And one of the things they would tell you is that when this generates waves, it kind of can create really an expert wave in the back closest to the wave producing technology. And then it breaks again in the middle, that's kind of an intermediate wave. And then it breaks again towards the end, that's a beginner wave. And then it rolls up on the beach, just for kids to have fun in whitewater. It's truly remarkable. This next slide just gives you an idea of what it would be like. This rendering is actually on top of what I'll call the ski lodge, which is just kind of a takeoff on the surf lodge. That's a second story. Underneath that is where you'd go to check in, either rent equipment and get checked out to go surf in the wave pool. But if you just want to watch people surf and hang out, above and watch that happen, that's one of the places you can do it. The Aussie Surf Lounge would be part of the resort hotel, and that's just one of the hotel restaurants over there on the other side. But this brings to life the experience I was just trying to describe. By the way, this wave pool is cutting edge technology that uses a recirculated water system that, although the number might sound like a lot by people who don't like it, it really only uses in a year the same amount of water that an 18-hole golf course uses on just one hole. Wow. And so basically it uses in the amount of water that this uses in a year is less than what a typical golf course, including golf courses in Oceanside, use in just 1 month. Sorry, sometimes this button's not working. Here we go. Okay, so as Mr. Madera explained, we are going to have a resort hotel that, by the way, should bring in a tremendous amount of transient occupancy tax every year. The 10-year tax projection for this development is over $80 million in the form of TOT tax and sales taxes that could come in directly to the city's general fund. And in our resort hotel, there's going to be a mix of rooms that are either conventional hotel rooms, casitas, villas, and also the super exciting, Airstream camping ground, which is basically it's glamping. And the pioneer in that is a company called AutoCamp, and it's not in your packet because it just came in today. But one of the owners of AutoCamp is very excited about this project, and he happened to send in an email just a couple of hours ago to Mr. Madera, telling him, how excited AutoCamp is to come here. And they have, you can look at their website if you ever are bored, but they have exciting Airstream camps like this at Yosemite, Ojai, Joshua Tree, and they're growing all the time. So we want to be able to provide a lot of different types of accommodations for people, who might come here. The Airstream Park also will have a clubhouse. So when you rent one of those Airstreams as a glamp, you can also go to the clubhouse and a camp store, et cetera. The part that, believe it or not, the part that I get the most excited about is the commercial area where this is a good picture of the Airstream here, park. But the part I get the most excited about is the commercial area because, for the employment market is so tough right now. And the hardest thing is recruitment and retention of top personnel. And I think here, when you can combine Oceanside's existing surf industry and also put it right next to a wave lagoon like this one, you're going to have top companies wanting to come to Oceanside because it's a fantastic recruiting and retention tool, for the best employees in high-paying jobs. And then the commercial space is just going to be fun too, because if you're working there, let's say you're in the surf industry or you're in the active sportswear industry, you're going to be able to just, work in a second story, but go downstairs and have a retail experience or have places to go to lunch or just watch people surf in the wave lagoon. This slide shows you an example of what could be a work environment at Ocean Camp. And perhaps some of these people live on Ocean Camp too, so their commute is a bike ride or a walk from either the north or the east residential zones. And this slide conceptualizes what some of that living environment might look like. We've had tremendous interest from some of the nation's top home builders. One of them is here today, who I think is going to speak to you about it. A lot of different, very well-known groups, whether in housing or in retail or in commercial, have come to us unsolicited and expressed a lot of interest in locating here at Oceanside. So as I mentioned, the direct benefits to the city of Oceanside already includes an $81 million 10-year tax revenue projection. It's going to have the Wave Lagoon, which will be transformative and thrilling and just frankly an economic engine for the city. It's going to create a world-class destination at a place right now that isn't much of a draw. That's going to be not only attractive to tourists, but also for residents. I think everyone at Oceanside is going to want to come here. And we're also generating 10% of affordable housing. So basically the equivalent of 70 affordable homes. We are going to do half of that on site, and we're going to do half of that with the in-lieu fee. And then the city can utilize that in other parts of the city. And as I mentioned before, it helps the city achieve its 2029 RH housing requirement. The project also provides a lot of amenities to the public. We're going to have 20 acres of open space, a 1.5-mile trail system that's going to connect to the existing San Luis River bike trail, which you can take all the way down to the harbor. We're going to have a multi-purpose community room, rotating cultural and surf exhibit opportunities. We're going to contribute to the Prince Memorial Skate Park, and we're also going to build and contribute to local road enhancements. As you saw on the other layout, we're doing those roundabouts on Fusat. And then we're also going to pay a $560,000 cash mitigation fee for the traffic impacts identified. One thing to point out on traffic impacts too is that the pavilion project, which was approved, and by the way, its environmental documents was challenged in court, and the city prevailed in that litigation. That was going to produce 32,000 plus daily trips. The Ocean Camp project is 19. So it's a lot less. And then the thing that's also really great is we've had tremendous support of any project I've done in my career. This has had the most support. Over 200 letters have come in. And this doesn't include this packet I have in front of me, just kind of a prop, but this is a copy of every letter that's come in support of the project. And we've had support from all these fantastic organizations that you see by their logo on this slide. And then just lastly is just a picture of a wave pool that kind of shows you, what to expect. This is a smaller R&D pool. I think this picture is from a park that actually is in Spain, but I'm not for sure. But it shows you how significant these waves can be. In the back of the slide, it shows a wave that's at least head high with a surfer really doing a good maneuver there. And on the inside, it's a smaller wave where you could just have fun. And anyways, with that, hopefully I probably end up using all my time, but if I didn't, I'm here for rebuttal and any questions. And also our technical team is here to answer questions as well. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Okay, again, this is a public hearing, so we invite participation. Slips, how many do we have?
We have roughly 32 slips.
Okay, so we can do this a couple of ways. I see a lot of the orange vests out there, and thank you for being here this evening. If there's a common thing that a group of you would like to address the commission about, and maybe could select a representative, I can give you the full 3 minutes, or we can go through everybody that's submitted a slip, all 32, and I'll limit everybody to 2 minutes. So Can I see a raise of hands for the Orange Vest group? I believe it's the Carpenters Union. Again, the idea here would be maybe 1 or 2 people come up for that group and speak, and you get the full 3 minutes. Can I see a raise of hands, perhaps, on who's represented by the union group this evening?
There's multiple union groups here.
Okay. So perhaps.
Yeah, we prefer 2 minutes for each speaker.
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. So, heard, 2 minutes then per speaker, irrespective of who you're representing this evening. So start calling out names. And if you come to the dais like the previous items and give us your name for the record, we'll give you 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Rosales. I'm going to go ahead and call out 4 names, and then I'll just keep going after that. Once the 4 have spoken, again, you'll have, did we decide 2 minutes?
2 minutes, yes.
Thank you. First is Diane Nygaard. Second, Tara Rengito, I believe. Third will be Sean Ellis. And fourth will be Jason Aruda.
And in lieu of waiting for everybody to come up, if the next speaker could line up, that we can just go speaker to speaker to speaker real quickly, because 32 times 2 is, we're going to be here for an hour. So please come up, next speaker, to the dais. What was the name?
Second name is Tara Rengito.
Great, thank you. And we'll call out names so we can keep doing this. Go ahead, Diane.
Okay, good evening again, Chair and Commissioners. Diane Nygaard, representing Preserve Calavera. I personally find it thrilling to actually watch the ocean rather than a large toilet flush. And shame on Mr. Korn for not actually building their fair share of affordable housing on this site, building their fair share of affordable housing. Is this new project what Oceanside needs? Do we need another 700 homes at this location? Our housing element that addresses 100% of our RHNA requirements says no, we don't need housing on this site. Do we need a huge resort hotel that impacts other hotels being planned for Oceanside? The inns at Buena Vista Creek and the one at El Corazon that's supposed to help pay for our park. The economic analysis for El Corazon says no, we don't need this. Do we need expensive pay-to-play recreation that wastes hundreds of thousands of gallons of water when our region is in a sustained drought? Our water strategic plan says no. Do we need to increase our greenhouse gases and roadway congestion for a project like this that isn't smart growth, makes climate change worse? Our climate action plan and general plan say no. Do we need to ignore hundreds of substantive comments by experts who commented on this project, challenging details of the environmental impact report? We urge you to just say no to this project and its SER, say yes to a future project that fits this site and our community and the years of planning that's invested in Oceanside to move us forward, not backward. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, come forward and be ready to speak as quickly as possible. Go ahead and give us your name.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Tara Rengito on behalf of SD Seed. We filed comments today supported by 3 new expert reports. The Planning Commission cannot approve this project until the project fully complies with CEQA and meets all requirements pursuant to the Subdivision Map Act and the City's Subdivision Ordinance. First, the City's decision to supplement the Pavilion EIR is not supported by substantial evidence. The Pavilion EIR does not retain informational value to this project. This is an entirely new project that requires major revisions to the analysis in the Pavilion EIR due to the new and substantially more severe significant impacts. Second, the city's baseline upon which the city measured VMT impacts from the project's commercial and hotel components is not supported by substantial evidence. Responses to comments confirm that the baseline includes the undeveloped Pavilion project. Such hypothetical conditions in the baseline are not permitted by CEQA. This baseline also improperly skews the impact analysis for VMT and air quality impacts. Third, the supplemental EIR fails to adequately disclose and mitigate the new and more severe significant impacts to transportation, biological resources, air quality, and water supply. For example, our expert demonstrated that the proposed mitigation cannot reduce the project's significant residential VMT impact by 11.1%. by solely implementing design features over a mere 0.14 square mile area. Additionally, our expert biologist commented that changes from the pavilion project to this project, particularly the addition of new residential uses, would generate new significant edge effects and a substantial increase in the severity of the edge effects identified in the pavilion EIR. The mitigation measures do not reduce these impacts. We request that the commission direct staff to withdraw the supplemental EIR and prepare a legally adequate project level EIR. Finally, the requisite findings to approve the project's tentative map cannot be made. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Sean Ellis, veteran, Pacific Islander, proud Oceanside landowner, and extremely proud North County resident. I stand here today opposed to this project, and let me tell you why. Local 230 and so many of my brothers and sisters that sit behind me, we're not against building, but we are against irresponsible building. I heard that gentleman talk about the surf culture. Last time I checked, the surf culture was at Buccaneer Beach, North Jetty, North Pier, down over there on the other side. Where do they talk about the community? That region is Deep Valley. It's one of the worst regions here in Oceanside. I know, I owned a property there. I've rented there, I've lived there. Those people that live in that community are African Americans, Mexicano, Latinx, LGBTQI, Pacific Islanders, and Asian American. And nowhere in that presentation did I see the job numbers and what money goes back to the community. I heard great businesses. I heard great this and great that and how much money it'll bring back to our city. But the people, what did they receive? Did they get quality job placement? Did they get career placement? Do they have a living wage? Do you guys know that your average house right now is $685,000 here in Oceanside and an individual's median income is $35,000? Nowhere in there did they tell the community, the people who you represent, your constituents, did they say they have an opportunity to create jobs? That community there, my brother, and to this commission, that was a swap meet to where so many of people who look like me were able to buy clothes, bicycles, and skateboard for children just like mine that are sitting here today. And that's how serious these residents are. We are here to fight for good jobs. We're not against this development, but I want this development to provide good union jobs, not just for one union, for the several unions that cover this region, because we are the vehicle to create that middle class. Nowhere else, because I'm gonna look around right now, I don't see much middle class in Oceanside. Thank you for your time tonight. You guys have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Right. Hello, everyone. My name's Jason Culkin here on behalf of Local 230s and Veterans and Piping. Just come behind Sean here. He just cares about everybody making fair wages. You know, it's definitely expensive here. We oppose this project on the grounds that the applicant should offer more to the Oceanside if they want to build here. This applicant has not agreed to work with everyone here. As a member of Local 230 and a person who lives and works here, I've been here like about 40 years. And I've worked here my whole life, for pretty much the whole time too. I feel the developers should make strong commitments to all of us. They should commit to choosing responsible contractors who hire locals and ensure that they are paid fair wages for their skills and work. And then the work site is a safe and educational environment for the apprentices who are the next generation of the hard worker tradespeople. With those commitments, we believe the project is missing a dimension of its value, and we urge you not to support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we'll have Chris Grizzle, Tom Arlingham, Jason Calkin, and Sean Silva. Again, 2 minutes.
Yeah, you're missing one speaker, huh?
He was in the first four, I think. He was the fourth of the first four.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jason Aruda, a proud member of Local 229, Union Ironworkers. I'm a proud Marine Corps veteran, a local resident of Oceanside. I'm excited to be here. It's not every day I get to wear a suit. On a normal day, I wear a hard hat, a vest, leathers, a welding hood. I burn myself up. I want good jobs here. I'm here, I'm honored, and I'm speaking on behalf of all my ironworkers and skilled tradesmen. I'm a little nervous, but it is what it is. For us, any project like this one of size and impact communities here in Oceanside at the region should be built with responsible equitable practices. When I say that, I mean protection built into projects constructions for workforce, including fair, honest wages, benefits provided to ensure that we can provide for our families as well. I live here. Keep this work here and available for us. As a member of the skilled trades, I believe each and every project is worth more than just a sum of raw materials, man hours that go into it. Please consider the impact of your vote on hardworking members and skilled tradesmen tonight, and thank you.
Thank you. Can we read, excuse me, sir, can we read off the next name and get that individual up to the other dais?
Absolutely, Chairman. This should be Chris Grizzle. And then next up will be Tom Arlingham.
Chris, Tom, go ahead and stay there, Tom, and Chris, you jump on the other one, or vice versa. There you go. Chris first, and then Tom. Go ahead.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Chris Grizzle. I am a representative of Local Union 669, Road Sprinkler Fitters. We're the biggest local in the UA. I represent hundreds of workers in Southern California, and in my view, development like this anywhere should come with the commitments to the workforce that make it a reality, period. Fair wages, benefits, so on. In fact, projects moving forward without a pledge to work with labor is a missed opportunity at best and policy failure at worst. Why should projects like this one go through when they do not adequately protect workers or ensure substantive jobs for everyone involved? We do not support this project, and we strongly urge you to reconsider it on its merits before approving it. Thank you, and you guys have a good evening.
Thank you, Chris. Tom, go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Tom Allingham, representing the A&J. I'm speaking tonight as an instructor for the A&J, which is the Apprentice and Journeyman Training Trust Fund of Southern California Pipe Trades. We don't support this project for good reason. The A&J operates a 5-year program comprised of about 2,300 apprentices that is rigorous and comprehensive. We prepare fitters, welders, plumbers, and HVAC technicians for long, fruitful careers in the industry. This means every apprentice that goes through our program is highly trained, in contrast to some other workers who may be hired to work on job sites throughout Southern California. With our training, with a COE accredited, every individual is guaranteed to work for great wages and have middle-class career opportunities. Our reason for declining to support this project today is because the applicant in this case has not committed to using a workforce that is prepared and trained to work the highest standards. Another side effect is that apprentices would not be granted an opportunity to perfect their craft on site. Frankly, a project like this would, as it stands, be missing a degree of safety, expertise, and dedication that is very critical in construction. Please keep that in mind when you vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's call up 2 speakers again so we can fill both dioceses.
Thank you, Chairman. Jason Cochran and Sean Silva, if you will both come forward. And Jason will speak
and
first.
Sean. Okay.
So sorry.
We'll go the next 2.
Then Jose Pina will be after Sean Silva.
Sean and then Jose. Go ahead, Sean.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Sean Silva. I'm speaking on behalf of SEED San Diego tonight. At SEED, we advocate vigorously for development that is equitable. You've heard that word a lot, but we want it to be equitable from start to finish, which means ensuring real community benefits and the protection of the environment for everyone, from the workers who build the project all the way to the tenants, visitors, and the general public who will reside or visit. We are completely in opposition to this project. You know, for a California lifestyle resort community as it's billed, we would expect some consideration of the California lifestyle in full. Beyond the sand and surf, there's something more, something deeper. As a native, let me tell you, a deeply held ethic of this state, as I think we will all agree, is this ethic of fairness and responsibility to those besides just ourselves. It shows up in our legal system in the form of CEQA. It shows up in our social mores. It's why we protect our coasts, our wildlife, and our environment in general. And it's why accepting a supplemental EIR on an outdated, decade-old pavilion project EIR does not cut it. In fact, the decision isn't legal, and a new EIR must be prepared according to the law. After all, anyone would agree that projects are vastly different enough, involve different enough land uses, and entail different enough uses to fully justify a more full disclosure to the public. As we've stated time and again, as I've just done now, projects must add value in real ways. And any project's value must come not at the expense of, but in full harmony with the built and natural environment. Because we believe Ocean Camp can do better, we do not believe this project deserves a cent tonight. Please consider that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jose Pina, and I am with C San Diego, speaking in opposition to this project. We believe that projects of this size, with the capacity to have such a large impact on the surrounding area, with environmental disruption, added traffic, construction-related issues, and other concerns, must be undertaken with full community support and robust measures in place to ensure safety and accessibility to everyone. What we have seen of this process leaves us with many reasonable concerns. For example, the city's report has failed to show that the project will have sufficient water supply during drought years, and we are actively in a drought. With fountains, pools, and a huge wave pool during a drought, it should be notable that the project will have sizable and ever-worsening water shortfalls through 2040. Remember, the final SCIR does not go beyond the vaguest notion of water recycling and usage limitation mitigation measures, but legally it must. We believe that the applicant can and should be held to a higher standard by Oceanside in exchange for getting to place a project in the city. Therefore, we do not support the project and urge you to reconsider it before approval. Thank you.
Next two speakers.
Next two, if we could please have Godfrey Wachira and I believe Bree Wong.
Godfrey and Bree. Choose either one. Have you both line up. 2 minutes. Go ahead, Bree.
Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for having us tonight. Bree Wong, lifetime resident of San Diego, North County. I spent a lot of my years here in San Diego, currently a little bit further south, but I have been looking at this project as it's been being developed over the past few years, and I have not seen a project development concept that incorporates so much for the community as the residents, and considering tourism, alternative modes of transportation, having access to the bike trail straight to the harbor. I feel like with the amount of open space and the amount of thought that's been putting into the mix of units, the restrictions that you guys have put on and making sure the commercial and the wave pools are developed prior to the residential units being released, I feel like this is really a necessary thing to bring Oceanside back to what it was. It was a booming surf community, it was really awesome, and it was a destination, and it's becoming that again, and it can be even more so. And I feel like this project really lends itself to helping support the community, helping to bring Oceanside back as a tourist destination, as well as providing much needed housing. As a board member of the San Diego Housing Federation, we're focused on resolving homelessness and housing affordability. If you're talking about the cost of owning a house or renting a house, more product on the market helps alleviate that. So the more units is not going to be a detriment really to the community. It's going to house the teachers and the people that live and work and play around this area. And I just hope that you guys consider that in support of the project. I'm an avid supporter of it.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Godfrey Washira, and I'm also with SEED. Again, just to wrap up our organization's points, again, we have serious concerns about the environmental clearance for the project, especially now that environmental justice has become an important feature of the policy process. the environment and the community come together. If you're going to consider the community, if you're going to consider the community, you have to consider the environment. If you're going to consider the environment, you have to consider the community. For the air quality analysis is woefully short, and the conclusion that air quality impacts are less than significant is simply not supported by substantial evidence. Again, then going with an SEIR of a 2008 EIR of a shopping center is really a mockery of the held opinion that EIR protects informed self-government and protects the environment. We should walk away from technicalities and embrace environmental justice. And if we are to use technicalities, then please use them in the right way. So therefore, in the spirit of the environment, in the spirit of the community, the whole community reject this SEIR and request an EIR to be done, one that will actually protect the environment, one that actually protects the community, one that actually embraces it all. Thank you.
Next, if we could please have Ryan Green and Scott Ashton.
Good evening, Commissioner. My name is Ryan Green. I'm the Lennar Division President for Lennar Homes San Diego. Thanks for having me tonight. Typically, I don't speak at these things. I usually don't support any property that I have no interest in, but the design of this community I thought was so thoughtful and had so many compelling elements that I wanted to be here tonight to make sure I shared my thoughts on it. I can tell you I've got a number of properties throughout the county, and I don't have one of them that includes both affordable housing, rental housing, attainable housing, commercial, retail, and, my God, a wave pool. But one of the most important elements for me that really struck me is the attainable housing. I'm building homes throughout the county, and I can say that without reservation, this is the only one where it has the highest concentration of affordable housing. We want to talk about greenhouse gases. We want to talk about VMT. Start bringing people back from Temecula and Inland Empire that are working for me down in South County, down in Rancho Penasquitos. Give them a place to be close to home, close to services, close to commercial, and also close to amenities. On top of that, I know a number of people that are flying to Texas to go rent a car, using a plane, staying in a hotel, and surfing there. Now, unless the laws have changed, I think we have free surfing right out here, but yet people still are going there. It draws them in. It's a destination. This is a great opportunity for the citizens, for your future residents, and for the city of Oceanside. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Scott Ashton. I'm CEO of the Oceanside Chamber of Commerce, and I'm here to express the Chamber's support for the project tonight. As we have developed more hotels, visitor-serving businesses like restaurants, breweries, experiential retail, we have put Oceanside on the map as a destination. In fact, our TOT tax is the third biggest revenue source for the city of Oceanside, generating over $7 million to provide essential services for our businesses and our residents. Oceanside was the beneficiary of approximately $507 million of visitor spending in 2021. About $140 million of that spent on accommodations, and the rest of it benefited our restaurants, retailers, arts and entertainment venues, and other local businesses, generating $17 million in tax for the city of Oceanside. Almost 3,500 jobs in Oceanside are heavily supported by travel. Adding a one-of-a-kind attraction like Ocean Camp will further solidify Oceanside's growing stature as a Southern California destination and will provide additional jobs and tax revenues that enhance the quality of life for all Oceanside residents. As the RENA report shows, we need housing of all types to meet the needs of our variety of income levels of our current and future workforce. Ocean Camp will help make housing more accessible by developing multifamily units and allowing for a broader range of housing at a variety of market rates. And this project goes a long way towards meeting our RENA needs with adding up to 700 units planned. For these reasons and more, I urge Planning Commission to approve staff recommendations and support the project tonight. Thank you for your time.
Next, if we could have Ernie Prieto and Eric Bruvold.
Good evening, Commissioners, Chairman Rosales. My name is Ernie Prieto, and I'm here representing the Chamber of Commerce as well. I sit on the Board of Directors and am a business owner down in the Oceanside Harbor. I'm here to speak in support of this Ocean Camp project. I feel that this is an opportunity, like so many speakers before me have said, to touch on so many different topics and so many different needs for our community, as far as RENA housing needs, an opportunity to create not only tourism, but a spot for our locals to come and visit and spend time and really add a new gem to what we're developing here in this city with the Corazon project, the revitalization of the harbor, our downtown. This is an opportunity to just create one more gem that can not only put Oceanside on the middle, like on the center of the map for Southern California tourism, but in the limelight of the action sports industry as well, which has already got a stronghold in the city, make it just stand out that much more. So I'm here to speak as a business owner and Oceanside resident in support of this project. Thanks.
Thank you.
Commissioners, Eric Bruvald, I'm the Chief Executive Officer for the San Diego North Economic Development Council, and I just want to suggest there are 4 things that you may want to think about as you deliberate about this project. First and foremost, one of North County's strengths, one of the more important clusters that we have in our industry, in our region, is the active sports and lifestyle industry. And this project, by providing synergy between the sports element and the commercial development that's going to go forward with office, provides a natural home for that cluster, much more than where it's found roots initially in Carlsbad. So this could be an attraction opportunity for Oceanside, both for existing businesses that are in our region as new ones coming to North County. Secondly, as my good friend Scott Ashton said, it reinforces Oceanside's development that we've seen in the hospitality space. That's really important. And then third, it creates a live, work, play environment. But I think most important to you tonight, as you really sort of grapple with both the decisions and some advocates on the other side that I think have made forceful points, this is a unique development. It has the opportunity to create a real sense of place and destination for Oceanside. Do not take what amounts to one of the few big parcels that we have left in Oceanside and sort of whittle it down to create a home for big box retail. It would be such a wasted opportunity. And so I know that there's strong advocates on the other side that are going to urge you to reject it, to move forward with an EIR process that could take years and years to move forward. But this is an opportunity for this Planning Commission and ultimately the City Council to do something really unique on one of the last remaining open parcels that we have in North County. Thank you for your time and best of luck tonight.
Next, if we could have Tom Lochtfeld and Scott Poehler.
Yes, I'm Tom Lochtfeld, CEO of SurfLock. I'm the technologist behind the surfing facility. And I grew up in San Diego. This is an opportunity that will provide Oceanside its heart and its soul by creating that surfing application. Your beach is right there, but I guarantee you, having developed wave pools all around the world, that people will travel here. This will become a destination that'll service all the community, all your shapers. I mean, we got the best shapers in the world are located here, and they're gonna get better because when you can create a wave that is so perfect that you can actually train on, not only tune your equipment, but you can also then keep getting better and better. You're gonna have the best surfers and the kids and all the health and well-being that accompanies that. So I very much support this program and look forward to your support. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Scott Poehler. I'm the VP of Business Development for SurfLock. Tom's my boss. And I'm also on the board of directors for Urban Surf for Kids, where we do surf therapy camps and mentor programs for foster kids and disadvantaged youth. So both kind of avenues feeding into this. And part of my job is, analyzing thousands of these developments around the world and once the camp project kind of crossed the desk, is like none, like I heard a perfect term is called GEM. And this really is like at the top of the list in terms of accessibility for these projects. A lot of times they're on the outskirts. This one is right with the surf culture. It really is an opportunity to do something unparalleled. I know it's unique. It's a big surf lagoon, coupled with a lot of residential, but this really is an opportunity to have a very positive economic and cultural impact as well as some of the programming that can be attached to this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, if we could have, I believe it's Rani Lochtfeld and Jorge Viramontes.
Good evening. My name is Randy Lochtefeld. I'm here to read a letter of support from Sean Brody, who's the founder and director of the Surf Education Academy and the head coach of the U.S. Surfing Paralympic team. He wasn't able to make it tonight, so I'd like to read a statement on his behalf of support of this project. As head coach for the U.S. Surfing Paralympic team, and founder of Surf Education Academy, I would like to put forth my full support for this proposed surf park project that is being planned for Oceanside. As we know, surfing is a pillar of many of our lives in Southern California, and a surf park would help facilitate opportunities to surf safely for individuals with disabilities and special populations. In my experience with working with surfers with disabilities from around the world, as well as working with people with disabilities who long to try surfing for therapeutic elements, one of the greatest challenges is working with the unpredictable variables of the ocean. Additionally, accessibility and safety can be a major preventative issues that come into play. Having a surf park that is designed to be accessible and with the ability to control the variables such as wave height, speed, interval, etc., can greatly improve the surfing experience for individuals and populations with disabilities. I know that the city of Oceanside, with the support of the U.S. Open for Adaptive Surfing that's held right here at the Oceanside Pier, takes a lot of pride in supporting adaptive surfers and the adaptive surfing movement. And this would be a pivotal step in the right direction in opening the benefits of surfing to people from all walks of life. Thank you for your time and for your support you have given adaptive surfers. And that's kind regards, Sean Brody. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Jorge Viramontes. I'm a representative with the Carpenters Union here in San Diego. Behind me, I have families that are carpenters that stayed here late tonight to support this project. We are 100% behind Ocean Camp. Not only that, but I facilitate the North County Grassroots Committee, which consists of 50 carpenters that live in Oceanside, Carlsbad, Vista, Escondido, and San Marcos, all skilled and trained through the apprenticeship. So when I'm gonna go, and as a matter of fact, tomorrow's our meeting, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna be proud to say, hey, these commissioners are gonna pass this forward, that we finally have a developer that's gonna use a responsible contractor to put our skilled and trained carpenters to work in their backyard. Are you kidding me? This is a win-win situation. So thank you very much, and let's push this forward.
Next, if we could have Jesse Garcia and Jared Dorsey.
Jesse or Jared first? All right. Jared Dorsey, Local 619 Carpenters. Longtime resident of Oceanside. Actually, I've lived here almost 18 years, I think. This project really reminds me of, I grew up my childhood in like Santee, East County. It reminds me of Santee Lakes. It's just a great community place to go, not just for locals, but families visiting out of town. It just really reminds me of a good communal place. Living in Oceanside, last time I got to work at home was Pacific Street Bridge over at the harbor. That was in 2008. So I really look forward to having a project here close to home, be able to work where I live, get off at a reasonable time without the commute, and be able to spend some time with my family, which has been a struggle with commuting for many years. So typically, we work a lot downtown San Diego. Currently, I'm working in La Jolla. We work down Otay Mesa. It seems like everywhere but here. So I think this would be a fantastic project for some of us locals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Jesse Garcia with the Carpenters Union, Local 619, representing all 6,249 union carpenters here in San Diego County. Beautiful project. I can't wait to bring my family here. Ocean Camp's commitment to our local workforce will provide high-quality jobs to our members that live in Oceanside and in the North County region, and significantly reduce workers' long commutes to project sites. Many of them are working downtown San Diego, Chula Vista, and up north along the 5 and the 15. This will improve overall project sustainability by reducing vehicle miles traveled in this region and ensure workers have an opportunity to work in the communities that they live in. Local families benefit when jobs are close to home. I urge you guys to move this project forward. Thank you.
Next, if we could have Humberto Gutierrez and Dan Monahan.
Hi, my name's Dan Monahan. I am in support of Ocean Camp. I'm a member of the action sports industry myself, and a few of the other members that are here in support of Ocean Camp have already referenced a lot of why I'm here. But we typically run a lot of events: skateboarding, skiing, snowboarding, things that we can control. But in the surfing world, it's hard to create a surf competition, when you're having to deal with Mother Nature and running the risk of not having waves on event day. So when you automatically, introduce a world-class wave at the push of a button, that's a total game changer for our industry. You can start to schedule events in advance. You can get the best surfers on the planet, schedule with their calendars to come on out. Work with TV partners, have some of the biggest international events in the world come to Oceanside. So again, I just wanted to reiterate, there's a lot of benefits to this project, but simply from an action sports perspective and just overall attention and eyeballs to the city of Oceanside, this would bring a lot of that. So we're definitely here in support of it and excited to see what happens. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Humberto Gutierrez. I'd like to thank you all for having me today. I'm a local 619 carpenter. I'm from Oceanside, third generation. Mom, dad, grandpa, all of us been around for a long time. This is an opportunity to go back to the 80s when I grew up. And before that, my dad and everybody grew up here. You know what I'm saying? This is awesome. I love this park. The reason why is because I just had another baby. He's 11 months. I want to be able to, instead of going to the beach and having to deal with the crowds, be able to go to the, and hang out there, right down the street from our house. I want to work there. I want to be able to come home, in 5 minutes instead of taking 2 hours to come home. I want to work there. I want to say, you know what? I built that. And my son go, yeah, Dad, that is awesome. That's what I want. But I'm here because I am really fired up about this. I totally like this. It's a totally safe environment. All these kids, I'm a surfer. I go to Buck Beach. That's where I hang out at. And I've been surfing since I was a kid. I'm there every Sunday. You get me at 10 o'clock meeting there that I go to, a side meeting I go there. We go to the surfing, and that's what I like. That's what I like to do. And this is something that I'm fired up about. And I really like this. I just can't tell you how much. That's all I got.
Thank you. Next, if we could have Stephanie Peraza and Emily Gutierrez.
Hi, good evening, respected chairs and commissioners. My name is Stephanie Peraza, and I'm the wife of a North County carpenter. And I'm here in support of Ocean Camp as well. I am also the mother of a precocious 9-year-old boy who has already expressed his excitement for this project, and I think it would be a really great opportunity for him. He also adores his papa, And as you've heard through a lot of our brothers, they're saying that, you know, it's taking me 2-3 hours to get home sometimes, and this is not a lie. Many of them don't actually get to work in their local communities. They're shipped out to other cities, and they are working in traffic to get home to us. And so we don't get as much time as we would like to spend with our husbands or some of our wives to enjoy great opportunities like this with our actual families. So Ocean Camp is offering a great opportunity for a few years' work of our husbands and brothers and sisters to be home a little bit earlier and to give us an opportunity to actually have some family time at Ocean Camp, which I think is an incredible experience for people. So thank you so much for your time, and I hope that you'll pass it forward. And I hope that the other unions, that you'll continue to come to the board and keep talking so that you can have your voices heard.
Good evening. My name is Emily Gutierrez, and I am the wife of a 619 Carpenters Union construction worker. And I'm 5th generation Southern Californian, and I totally support this wave park. It looks like such a fun opportunity. I'm excited for my 11-month-old to be able to actually go in the water instead of screaming as soon as he touches the freezing cold ocean. And but the big thing is that I want to spend time with my husband. We have a new budding family, and he's in traffic for 2 hours every single day, and we live right down the street from here. It would mean so much if you would push this through and I could have time with my husband. It's like the baby, he's growing up before my eyes, but my husband, he's on FaceTime watching the baby grow up. Every time the kid sees him, he gets a big smile on his face, but he's looking through a screen. It's not the same. So I would definitely encourage you to bring people working here that live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, if we could have Doug Hicks and John Hester.
Good evening, council members. Doug Hicks, Local 619. You've seen me up here before ranting and raving and railing about how bad projects are for the community. 2.5 years, I reached out to N4FL and I expressed my concerns about their project and the impacts it would have on our community. And they said, let's sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and talk about your concern. And we walked out of there with their solid commitment that they would put union carpenters to work, local union carpenters. You've heard from the families today. Those are parents that are going to be able to coach their kids' teams. Those are parents that are going to have a better marriage. They're going to be involved in their kids' school, maybe do some homework. Put a price on that. I want to talk about the environmental impacts that I've heard. This was a parking lot. I grew up here in San Diego and in North County for most of my life. This was an asphalt parking lot for years, and I heard crickets from the environmental community about that. Now we're going to turn this into something that's got vegetation. It's going to activate the community. It's going to reduce the commute time. It's a walkable community. The #1 impact for us for greenhouse gases, carbon emissions. An opportunity to work close to home. It's good for the environment. It's good for the families. It's good to see a developer make a commitment to the local workforce that says, yeah, we're not going to just profit from the community. We're going to benefit the community. We're going to ask you to come and be a part of this. When a developer joins the community, that is a powerful message. They understand the culture of Oceanside. Anybody who's been around Oceanside for a while knows, what's the first question you get asked? Where'd you go to high school? And you better answer right or you're not a local. That stuff matters here. This developer understands that. But when they reached out and they understood our issues as middle-class working carpenters, and for the next generation of carpenters, that the 9-year-olds, the 11-month-olds, that are going to have an opportunity to go play where dad worked, where mom worked, that is priceless to the Oceanside community. I urge you to move this forward and support Ocean Camp. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Hester. I heard about this project from a lot of my friends who surf. At first, I didn't really understand the wave pool concept, but after talking to a lot of my friends who have actually traveled out of state, going to Texas, I really understand it and I'm extremely excited for it. Not only is it a really creative addition and will be great for everyone, Even if you don't surf, you can camp, you can shop, hang out, you can live. I also like how it adds a lot of details to celebrate Oceanside's history. Those little touches will really make Ocean Camp a place where locals and visitors alike can enjoy. I totally plan to rent out one of the Airstreams, drink there, eat there, hang out there all throughout the year. So I really hope you all support it and vote yes, because I'm really excited for this project.
Thank you. Next, if we could have Zane O'Brien and Dave Shepard.
Good evening. My name is Zane O'Brien. I'm here today to support Ocean Camp. I moved to Oceanside a few years ago and been working to fix up my house. What interests me most about Ocean Camp, the way that they combine the wave pool with new housing. It'll be hugely popular. I surf myself. I would definitely be using this. As you know, buying a house in this market can be very difficult. And I think this uniquely provides an opportunity to surf and helps alleviate the housing problem here in Oceanside. Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is David Shepard. I live at 1349 Napoli Street in Oceanside. About 10 years ago, when my wife and I decided to move to Oceanside, one of the things we felt was so special about it is the sense of community. Here's an opportunity that we believe will build on that sense of community with all the different varieties of uses and also the different housing types. Really a unique opportunity. We're very excited about that for our 3 children. I've got 3 teenage children. I don't know where they're going to live 10, 15 years from now. More opportunities like this that come about create a little bit more concern, less concern for me, and give me some more comfort going forward. Looking forward to your support of this. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next, can we have Alex Plishner and I believe a Bobby, last name is V-E-R Veraspeak, possibly, from Valley Center?
Bobby. Good evening, Council Chair Rosales and members of the Planning Commission. My name's Alex Plishner. I'm a resident of North County. I'm also a 15-year member of the Board of Directors for the Building Industry Association. And finally, I'm a local home builder and architect. You'll hear a number of speakers discussing the project benefits, and I find myself a huge proponent of Ocean Camp. Vibrant, exciting, a landmark for Oceanside, something you've never seen before and truly one of a kind. I'm also a father of 2 young children that would love to come and find recreation at Ocean Camp and all the exciting amenities planned. And finally, this is the first time I've gone before a public body on a property that we didn't own, that we weren't entitling, that we weren't even a part of. No one from my company has. But we're here today because we love everything it has to offer. We love to be a part of the Ocean Camp community. I had to be here tonight to show how excited I am to be a part of this soon-to-be community. I won't take up any more of your time. I strongly urge you to vote in support of this project tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Chair Rosales and the rest of the commissioners, my name is Bobby Velasquez, a 44-year member of the Carpenters Union here in San Diego, Local 619. Unlike the other crafts that are here that are opposing this project, I am for it, and I'll tell you the reasons why. I come from a family of surfers. My niece, Brooke Velasquez, has been a champion here on the West Coast for several years now. She teaches up at Santa Cruz as a high school teacher. She wouldn't have became a teacher had she not received her master's at the university up there at Santa Cruz, had it not been for her father, who was a union carpenter. He's now retired, and he was a former resident here in Oceanside for about 15 years, renting a bungalow near Oceanside High School. I currently am a North County resident, so I qualify to be here tonight. I just want to mention that John was a fantastic presentation, very creative. I was really impressed because, number one, the wave machine was a conceptual idea that was talked with the local surfers down in PB in La Jolla, where I hung out and grew up. Shapers like Skip Fry and Tim Bissell, we were talking about it back in the 80s, and I'm glad to see that it is coming to fruition. I also want to mention that this is going to be a fantastic opportunity for our apprentices, okay? Just by looking at the site layout, I could see where an apprentice can actually start from the very beginning, doing the engineering layout, shooting the grades, doing the concrete formwork, and actually doing the residential building as well as the commercial structure. This is our craft. We are builders. The carpenters are builders. We're not destroyers, we are builders. And we will continue to build. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're down to our last three, so I'm going to go ahead and call all three names. First will be Tony Finn, second will be Carolyn Kramer, and third will be Mike Grail.
Hey everybody, my name's Tony Finn. I've lived in Encinitas for 30 years in Southern California for my entire life. I come to Oceanside a lot. I really like the community, and when there's waves, I really like it. Unfortunately, this year, the swells haven't been that good. We had good waves last week, but it hasn't been that good most of the time. And that's one of the things that I think is really important, because once this wave is built, there'll be great surf in Oceanside 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Something unique that I did in my action sports career is I was a consultant for my friend in Waco, Texas, and I helped convince him to put a wave in Waco. And the other guy who was talking about that people fly from Oceanside residents right now sometimes fly to Waco to surf there. So that's not gonna happen anymore once this wave is built. This wave will be incredible for beginners to pros. We'll all love these waves. Kids that are 5 years old, all the way up to people that are 80 years old will be able to surf these waves because of the way that they're designed. You got beginner, intermediate, and pro. This team that they've built with John Korn, Michael Grell, and the others are super into building the community, and they're gonna make this place a great opportunity for kids and families in Oceanside to come here, to surf here and really learn how to surf. I really feel like this is an amazing opportunity because this is gonna be the only place in the world where you could surf in a pool and then ride your bike to the beach, surf at the beach, hang out there for a little while, eat there, ride your bike back to Ocean Camp and surf again. So I feel when you guys approve this project, this will be truly unique in the world, and I think it'll make Oceanside the best surf community in the country. So I strongly recommend that you approve Ocean Camp.
Wow. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Carolyn Kramer, and I'm a longtime resident of Oceanside for over 34 years. I think I put 24 in my email to you today. I apologize for the typo. I have seen the growth that has been developed around us. I get it. Nothing stays the same, but let's do it right for the health and safety of our residents, new ones and those of us that have lived here for a long time. The original project, the pavilion, was approved back in 2008. That's about 14 years ago. Do you think things have changed? You bet they have. And yet this new proposed project, which is completely different from the original one, is coming before you to approve based on a 14-year-old SCIR. The new impacts have not been adequately addressed. The Ocean Camp project has a whole lot more impacts to our community. Traffic, noise, fire, airport crashes, and the big one, water. These impacts have changed in 14 years and have not been adequately addressed. A new EIR should be required of this developer. Water is one of our most precious resources. California is in a severe drought stage and could be for many more years to come. We as residents are being asked to conserve our water consumption. The proposed project not only consists of 700 additional housing units, but adds a hotel, a few pools, and a water-guzzling wave lagoon. Where is the water coming from? Yep, it's coming from our water supply, and that water supply is already in short supply. Remember those 2 recent plane crashes? One was fatal. They crashed in the open field that may be occupied by this project, by homes, by people, and kids. Are you going to sacrifice their safety for this project in the flight path of the airport? I hope not. Please deny this proposed project. We can do better.
Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is Mike Grail. I'm with Brizo Pacific. We've been working with N4FL Development on this project for 4 years. It's been a great 4 years. Gotten to know most of you very well. I'd like to first thank Sergio Madera for 4 years of his efforts and time. It's been a long road. And I'd like to thank everybody in this room. I think I've had a good chance to meet most of you over the past 4 years. In that time, we've made a lot of inroads with great partnerships with Boys and Girls Club, opportunities to work with the city of Oceanside, or excuse me, the Oceanside School District. So there's plans to have Oceanside and El Camino High have their surf teams, have time in the wave pool, as well as partnerships with the Boys and Girls Club where their kids can go into employment programs within the project. So I think that addresses a couple things. One thing I wanted to point out is we've made it an effort over the last, 4 years again, to work with everyone that's approached us. And I think you've heard that from the Carpenters Union. There's some other folks here tonight we've never heard of until today. So with that, I just want to thank you very much. Appreciate your time and consideration.
Okay, we've run out of slips. Doesn't mean that if you didn't submit a slip and haven't spoken yet, you can come up before I close the public hearing. So last call for speakers.
Good evening. My name is Brandon Delgado. I moved to Oceanside about 20 years ago to go to a trade school. Lived downtown in a 400 square foot apartment, working multiple jobs to eventually buy my own home. And a couple years ago, we bought our first house on River Tree Drive, just on the other side of the river. I lay in my bed at night and can look over the river at the proposed site. And I know something's going to be built there. And I really hope it's not a Costco. I think this community project that they proposed would be great for us residents that live in the neighborhood. I want something I could walk to where we don't have to walk down the river trail where it's not really safe. I think it'd be really cool for the community that lives in the airport neighborhood to have something to walk to and enjoy the community. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Corey Ellis. I'm wife to a veteran as well as United Association Local 230 Plumbers and Pipe Fitters member. As starstruck as this project may be, you did not take into consideration all parties that are involved. I see a lot of water there. I don't see any plumbers that are on that workforce development plan. The desalination plant that was built in Oceanside was built with the community in mind, with the existing residents for sustainable water use. I believe it's somewhere amongst 30% of that water that is supposed to have sustainable existing residents, not for an inland ocean. The Texas trips that are supposedly to go see other water parks, I do not believe so. I believe that is more attributed to developers who do not local hire skilled and trained workforces, so they would need to go and export and are doing land reconnaissance in order to buy housing because of developers such as this one that did not see all parties involved. Instead of having a monopolization of the workforce, I think it would be much better for the community involved because carpenters are not the only ones that live up in North County. We have been here for 15 years, in addition to several of the other members that have spoken today, as well as the iron workers. So carpenters are not the only North County residents that are in construction. Please diversify your workforce, or please reject this proposal. Thank you very much.
Okay, last call before we close our public hearing. Don't see anybody rushing forward, so we will close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for discussion. I don't see anybody queuing up here, Commissioner, so I'll start. Yeah, I'll go through the few things that I heard, and the dominant one that I heard was the environmental impact report that was done, or the supplemental. So let's start there, Sergio. As I understand, and I read through the materials, the initial evaluation was done in 2008 as part of a different project, but that was kept in place through subsequent amendments to that project. This is a different project, so help us up here in the audience understand how that plays into and why it's still relevant for this project. I'll leave it at that.
Sure. Chair Rosales, so a supplemental EIR was prepared that analyzed a number of the checklist topics that would be impacted by the change in the project. As an example, the site was graded, so impacts related to potentially cultural resources, as an example, wouldn't change with the project. There's other topical areas that wouldn't have changed with the project. We do have the environmental consultant who prepared the supplemental EIR here. If you have any specific questions, or maybe they can give you a broader overview than I can on how we came to the decision to prepare a supplemental EIR.
Yeah, let's bring that consultant up. What I heard was water was one element that was different. Traffic actually had been reduced, I believe, but correct me if I'm wrong on that. But yeah, if you would touch on the things that, and I thank you for the explanation, Sergio. So there are some things that really didn't change that carry through, but if you could focus on the things you heard and that you know did change and address those.
Sure. Did you want to start?
Can I just make one comment, Chair Rosales, before?
Sure.
And I'll introduce Yara Fisher. This is John Corn again. First of all, I just wanted to say that we as the developer group sincerely appreciate all the comments that have been made here today for and against the project. But I also want to say that in terms of the environmental review, as Ms. Fisher here will tell you, and we also have two of her colleagues here today who can talk about other aspects of it. This process, although it was a supplemental EIR on top of the existing litigated EIR for the Pavilion project, was extremely robust and very thorough. And it went to the state clearinghouse, and we did receive comment letters, and we responded to those comments, and everything was done by the book. And we looked at everything extremely thoroughly. So I just want to say that as a precursor to what Ms. Fisher is going to say here right now. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Fisher.
Again, my name is Yara Fisher. I'm with Helix Environmental Planning. Happy to be here tonight. In the beginning of the project, as we were evaluating what's the appropriate CEQA process to follow, we started considering, well, first of all, what kind of shape was the Pavilion EIR in, the original 2008 document? That document was a very comprehensive document that addressed all of the environmental impact topics that were being addressed by CEQA at that time. So we looked again at that document. We thought, okay, this is really good. There's still a lot of good information in this document. And then we started thinking about, well, what would introducing different uses that weren't assumed in the EIR do to that? So in particular, the residential uses we thought were, different from what was assumed in the 2008 Pavilion EIR. So that's when we started going through topic areas and thinking, okay, what would possibly change? What should we provide some more information on? What should we provide some more analysis on? And as Sergio indicated, first there were a lot of topics that were already analyzed, like geology, soils, paleontological resources, cultural resources, largely biology that had already kind of been impacted by the site being graded. So we thought there's probably not too much change there. But we better look at other issue areas such as public services, utilities. There's new traffic guidelines related to VMT. Taking a fresh look at the climate action plan and greenhouse gas emissions. And so we provided full analysis of those. And through that analysis, we found that impacts really were not that much different from what the 2008 EIR indicated. There was a new noise impact, and there was a new traffic impact. Otherwise, we felt that the mitigation measures that were in place and the analysis that was in place really covered well this project, even though it is different and has different uses.
And in your professional opinion, then, I think you've already stated, maybe that practice of looking at an existing EIR and then bring it into a slightly different project, would you call that common, or there's an approach to that?
That's the intent of CEQA, actually, is to not create standalone, separate documents when there is a document that's in place that can be tiered from.
Okay, great, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Fisher on that part?
And we do have technical specialists in biology, traffic. I can address water supply, air quality, and greenhouse gas emissions as well here.
Did the traffic go down comparing the two projects?
Yes, the trips went down dramatically. I think I'll have John Borman from Scott Long Greenspan answer that.
Hi, my name is John Borman. I'm a principal with Lynn Scott Long Greenspan. We prepared the traffic study for the project. And yes, the prior project generated some 32,000 trips a day. This project was some 19,000 trips a day, so it was a lot less. But despite that, we did a full traffic study anyway, so.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, the other comments that I took note of were jobs. So that's an important element to a great number of our audience participants tonight. We saw different levels of support, some very much in support of the commitments by the developer, by the applicant, and then the other group not feeling the same sense from them. So we, on this project, and again, if you want to correct me, go ahead. We're not asked to, and I think we can demand that the developer commit to certain hiring practices or work plans. This isn't a public project. We can ask, I suppose, that a commitment be played, into this project. And it sounds like that has been offered to some of the speakers this evening. But I don't know, fellow commissioners, what your sense is in terms of the commitment by the developer to hire certain, in their work plan, certain union representatives and workers.
Okay, my 2 cents is that this isn't a public job, so would you correct me that this does not have any requirement to be prevailing wage or a union project, is that correct?
Chair Moore, or Vice Chair Moore said that's correct. There's it's not a prevailing wage project.
Yeah, okay, so I grew up, my dad was a union contractor. I was in the carpenter local for 4 years before I went to the Middle East at a very young age. So I get that. So that's really up to the developer, and that's what he has to weigh. I think that from what I heard tonight, at least the carpenters are happy. And but I think, it's their constitutional right to do what they want to do. And I think it's live and let live. And as long as they're doing it legally, I'm for, that's not our sphere of influence. We don't go there.
Commissioner Dons, go ahead.
I agree that this is private owned and they have the right to hire whomever. I'm a 38-year resident here. I'm an engineer who worked in biotech and pharmaceutical, and I used to travel for 8 years up to San Dimas every single day until they brought Genentech here. And that changed my life and it changed my family. The only thing that I can suggest and ask is that there is a plethora of talent that's here, that represented in Oceanside, to take advantage of. You've done tremendous work to try to be able to be a gem for this community. Take it a step further and utilize the talent that's here.
I might have missed something else, commissioners, on the issues. Those were the two that popped out to me. Go ahead, Commissioner Bama.
I would just,
I know you stated already about the water issue. And it was kind of eye-opening the way you said it too, as far as like how much water is actually being used. Could you just like brush on that one more time? Because I think that's kind of like very interesting as far as like the amount of water it's actually used for the project.
How much, you're talking about how much is used?
Yeah, because he was saying how the wave pool, it's not as much as it's like 1 year of an 18, I forgot what you said.
One hole.
It was one hole of an 18-hole golf course.
For the year,
Yeah. What was that you said again?
Yeah, well, the typical golf course in Southern California uses 90 million gallons of water a year, and the wave pool uses about 5.2 or 3 million gallons.
Really?
Yeah. And it has, the initial fill is about 5.2 million gallons, and then I actually, and speaking to some of you in previous times, I thought that the evaporation rate was lower than it actually is. It looks like it's going to be about an 80% loss each year due to evaporation, filtration, and then spillage, basically. So basically, you're talking about after the initial fill of 5, then every year you're going to probably put in another 4. It's actually it's a small percentage of the total water for this project, which I guess saying that cuts both ways. But you know, for a project this size, state law requires the city, which it's done, to undertake a water supply assessment and verification analysis. And that's part of our CEQA document as well. It's extremely thorough and robust. And basically what this report concluded is that the city's supply is sufficient for this entire project, including the wave pool, for the foreseeable 20 years, taking into account normal years, single dry years, and then also multiple dry years. So I think we're okay in the water department.
Yeah. And you guys are using recycled for all your landscaping and such?
Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, this water supply assessment is very conservative because it doesn't take into account all the great things that the city is doing for reclaimed water and also for the toilet to tap program, which has a better name of Pure Water Oceanside.
Pure water, yeah.
Right. So it's very conservative in that respect because yes, we are going to be doing all those things. And by the time that we get this going, the Pure Water Oceanside project should be online with what I understand is about 3 million gallons a day. So to put everyone's mind at ease, you know, basically 2 days of operation of the Pure Water Oceanside project could take care of the annual needs of the wave pool.
Thank you. Thank you. That's what I was kind of hoping to hear. This is a very out of the box question, but as far as hotel rooms and such, are you going to have? This is going to be totally out of the box for the question, but operable windows, because I'm kind of a fan of like when I go to a hotel and like especially this place where you're going to overlook the wave pool, whatever else. Can I open my windows when I'm there? Or is it going to be a closed window kind of environment?
Well, we haven't gotten that far. But
I know. I said it was out of the box question. I'm an architect. That's what I think about.
That's the first question I ask before I do a hotel room. But it is, don't forget, it's also going to have the casitas and the villas and the Airstreams, which definitely will have windows that can open.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the hotel will too, because that's like that'd be another feature.
Yeah, I hope so as well.
Commissioner Custer, you had a question?
Well, I don't really have a question. I just want to say it looks like a great project to me. I think it'll be great for the city, great for families. So I'm ready to make a motion.
Hold that thought, Vice Chair Morrissey, I think.
Well, I didn't want to beat you to the punch. I was going to say the same thing. I think this is the coolest project that I've seen come here in a long time. I've looked at a water park 20 years ago. This is like having a water park, but way cooler than a water park. People are going to be coming from who knows where. They're going to be coming from Waco, Texas here.
Yeah. Right.
And I think, you know, for the other thing, being from the Midwest, I could never surf, but my son surfs. And he complains all the time, the surf's no good out there because of what one of the guys said is, unless there's a storm somewhere else, there's no surf here. This is going to be surf every day. And it just fits in with our Oceanside surf history. I think Oceanside is the greatest city in North County, and this is going to make us even better. Right. And they're not going to have one in any other city in San Diego. No. So it's awesome.
Thank you.
For this project, and now I submit to you to make the motion.
Before you make that motion, I'd like to thank everybody present tonight, and I know a lot of folks have already left, for your input. We always appreciate that. It helps us try to make a good, fair, and reasonable decision at the end. So this is a really, as one speaker said, a really unique project, a unique development. We expect, based on what we saw this evening, that this is going to be a real gem, additional gem added to the community. So, I think most of us here are very supportive of what we've heard tonight. But again, appreciate all of everybody's input to that. Commissioner Custer, I think you wanted to make a motion?
I do. Okay. Make a motion that we certify the supplemental environmental impact report and adopt the associated findings of fact and mitigation monitoring and reporting program by adopting Planning Commission Resolution Number 2022 P15 and approve tentative map T19-00004, developmental plan D19-00016, and conditional use permit 19-00021, and adopting Planning Commission Resolution Number 2022 P16 with findings and conditions of approval attached therein.
Great, thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Custer.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
I'll offer the second with, again, very much enthusiastically offer you a second for this project, because it's just like as Tom just said, it's so unique. We're so thankful that, I feel like I'm thankful that you guys came and you decided to do something like this on this piece of ground that's been sitting here with nothing on it for I don't know how many years, and to create this kind of a element for Oceanside, for surfing, for the surfboard manufacturers, for the surfing community, for the surf museums. It's like we're all just waiting for this. It's going to be a great game changer for the people in the Olympics, like Paralympics, different kinds of Olympic training. This could be like a game changer for so much for education. I just can't believe how exciting this is going to be. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I can't wait. I'm going to be probably on the third wave, though, because I'm not great on the first one. Maybe the third one will be me.
Great, thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Custard and a second by Commissioner Bama. Let's vote.
The art vote is it.
Chair Rosales, let the record show that the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. That concludes our everybody. Meeting, so if I could get everybody to exit.
We're still in the meeting, sir. No worries.
Hang out with them and celebrate.
Yeah. Everybody for coming. We're planning on concluding our meeting now. I see we don't have any discussion items for tonight, so we'll go to commissioner reports. Good to see you. I had everybody to take their conversations outside. I'd appreciate it so we can wrap up our meeting. Folks, if I could get you to step outside.
They're the posers. Get your gavel, Tom.
Excuse me, excuse me.
Her name's Tara.
Okay, Tara? Is it Tara?
Yeah.
There she is.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, where were we? Commissioner reports. This is meant for you, Sergio. I had a work, Land Use and Housing Committee meeting that I had to attend for. It was a work item a couple of weeks ago. And saw a presentation by the planning director for the city of Oceanside, or city of San Diego. That's who I work for. Anyway, they had a consultant do a really thorough and interesting presentation on, I forget the name of the report, but it's essentially, it was all of the housing development that the city of San Diego had done in the last year of all sorts of types, ADUs in the different parts of the city and so forth. It was just really well done. And so I asked for a copy of it, and the darn thing was so large, I tried to email it to you. It was something like, I don't know, 60 megs or something like that, and it got spit back. So I meant to print it out and actually share it with everybody. So I'll try to remember to do it. It was just, I thought, really well done. And I thought, oh, that'd be something that we could maybe mimic. And I think they had a consultant that did it. So
Sure.
I'll try to make a copy for everybody.
I could,
next time.
if you send me, I'll send you an email with a box link where you could upload it to.
There you go.
And
There you
then I
go.
could distribute it. I could break it down a little bit and distribute it to
Yeah,
everyone.
I just was struck by how well it laid out everything, and it was by portions of the city and the types that were developed and everything. It was just a really useful document. It was written in a style that Joe Q. Public could really appreciate. This is what's going on in the city of San Diego. So, yeah, if you would send that, I'll send it to you, and
Just
then
send it to you tomorrow.
Perfect. Aside from that, I don't think I have anything else. We certainly had an
That was good.
eventful evening. And thank you, Commissioner Dodds, for your comments. You made a couple of really good salient points this evening that I appreciate you making on a couple of the projects, so appreciate that. Okay, enough about me. Vice Chair Morrissey, I'm
Yeah.
glad to see you this evening here.
Yeah. Don't give me a hard time about last time.
Any report?
I do. I was going to bring it up in one of the earlier things that came up, but I didn't because it was long enough and we had a long night. But, they were talking about the circulation and the bridge, and I have two things, Tom. And, this body voted to extend Melrose, to build a bridge, and then we voted, I think, all for it, and City Council voted against it. And it seems like it's coming up again, and personally, I think it's going to take a disaster before we're going to do anything about it. Is there anything, what do the people have to come together and say, they need to get so many votes to say we want a bridge here, or what has to happen? So if
let
our
me clarify.
constituents ask, we tell them.
So Vice Chairman, let me clarify. So what this body was asked to do a few years ago was to remove the Melrose extension between Santa Fe and 76 out of the circulation element.
Right.
The bridge that crosses at the other side of Melrose is still within the circulation element.
Okay.
So it's still on the books. I'm not sure what the answer is to how we can effectuate that project. Certainly demand in the future will mandate that we build it. It's not an easy task to build a bridge, as you well know. We're working on a replacement bridge as an example for Coast Highway, and it's been 10 years and just in design.
Yeah.
Our CIP project manager who manages that project tells me it takes about 20 years, especially when you have federal Caltrans funding that's based on federal dollars.
It's a shame.
It takes about 20 years from commencement of design to actual bridge completion. So
Yeah.
it's a long process. I think all we can do is recommend that our citizens who would want to see that extra access into that part of the community on the north side of the bridge is to contact our city council members and
Yeah.
tell them that they need it. I don't know any other way.
Yeah. Well,
On the bridge subject, one of the things that we kept bringing up or kept asking for was an Arizona crossing.
Sure.
Which is not a bridge. It's just a paved, almost like a gully where the water would actually cross, and that would be it. The rest of it would just be bollards on both sides of the crossing, and would only be used if there was a fire or an emergency, where the police or the fire can actually take out the bollards and direct traffic across this like dirt kind of path slash little concrete swale at the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's something that we maybe could afford and maybe could do for an emergency. This is not to put a bridge in for everything else that happens, but just for that. And I think it really, the neighborhood, they're right on all that. When we were evacuating the Lilac, I was on that road, North River Road, going right past those people for hours. It took us about an hour to get through there, and that's kind of scary. It could happen again. I mean, it will happen again. I don't want it to happen again, but yeah.
Well, so that was one item, and the other item, I think I received an email from you, Sir Gerald, that had something to do with the ratio between jobs and homes.
That was, yes, Vice Chair Morrissey, that was it's jobs housing ratio report prepared by the Economic Development section of the City Manager's Office last year. And it was utilized by one of the opponents of tonight's projects stating how this project the Ocean Camp project really didn't
to me,
help with that.
if anything, that basically supported the Ocean Camp project in my mind. And the biggest problem I see with Oceanside in that report.
Let me retract something. I don't think it was offered. I got to check the email now. I've had so many emails, you can tell. I'm not sure if that was submitted as in opposition to either the Tierra Norte project or the Ocean Camp. I'm not sure. I'd have to check my emails.
But nobody's talking about, and I think the city of Oceanside could do better at, they talked about our schools. The schools in Oceanside, K through 12, doesn't rank as well as our cities around us. And, nobody talks about that. And that's something that I think that we, as this board, can't address. But I sure think that as citizens of Oceanside, we're all here because we want Oceanside to be the best. We need to look at our schools. And to me, that is nothing but leadership. And I think that the leadership of our Oceanside school districts, they need to be sent this report. And what have they been doing for the last 20 years? There's no reason that our schools shouldn't be at par with any other school in North County.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Good point.
Hear, hear.
I like that.
I'm done.
Okay. Commissioner Obama, then.
Well, all I have to say is, I don't know if you guys know, but Scott Nightingale has moved on to San Marcos.
No way.
So we lost him. He's
no
an
more
associate,
Scott?
I think he's associate planner, over there.
He's
planner or something.
He's fortunate enough. He's got a promotion. He was a senior planner here. He's a principal planner.
Principal planner.
We didn't have a party for
So we didn't have which I felt like we should have. I just saw him on like a Friday when he was his last day. I guess you guys had a cake for him and everything. I felt like, God, we didn't even do anything for him as us, because I just love Scott. I've been on the planning commission for almost 18 years, and he's there the whole time. Yeah. And now he's gone. So
Is he an Oceanside resident?
Yes.
So he's still local.
Oh, he wants to come back. He doesn't want to leave Oceanside. He's just going to go there for job opportunities and just for his career.
Yeah.
But he still loves Oceanside. He surfs Oceanside. He loves Oceanside.
Yeah.
Mr. Oceanside.
Anyways, just want to let you guys know.
I didn't know that.
Oh, it's sad.
Did you guys send something out that he was leaving?
We asked him if he wanted something, and he's very modest, and he didn't feel comfortable with something.
We would, yeah.
Yeah, nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is a nice guy.
Commissioner Custer.
No, I don't have anything to report, but I agree with you completely about the schools. There's a lot, and there are 2 more districts that need candidates that are interested in bringing up the scores for this November election. So
Well, maybe we can talk. All right.
There you go.
Some politicking going on here this evening. Commissioner Dodds.
I don't have anything to report, but man, this is the wrong commission, because you mentioned schools, and we should, Oceanside definitely can do better, but it's not just the commission, it is also the parents.
Yeah.
Parents need to be involved.
It has to start at the home.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Absolutely. City planner?
Thank you, Chairman Rosales. I just have a few items to go over. Our upcoming meeting, the Planning Commission meeting on August 8th, we'll have 2 projects scheduled. One is, we calling it the Breeze 2.0. It's a project at the terminus of Ditmar and Nevada Streets where it intersects the railroad track. And previously, this commission approved a project there for 34 townhome units. The applicant has now come in for a revised project for 146 apartment units. So much different project. It is taking advantage of density bonus. It is within a half-mile of transit, so it checks all those boxes for us. And it will have an affordable component. And the other item scheduled is a very minor remodel at 1305 South Pacific. And then Planning Commission items moving forward to City Council on August 10th, we have the GPU alternatives finally going there. The density bonus ordinance this commission recently recommended is going to be considered by the City Council, and then also a zoning amendment to limit density in the downtown district. And then on August 24th, we have a climate action plan progress report going to council, home occupation ordinance update that this commission considered some time ago, and potentially the Tierra Norte project you considered tonight. And finally, on August 9th, there is a ag tourism workshop being held at the Senior Center from 8 in the morning to 11:30 in the morning to go over and to highlight some of the benefits of ag tourism and try to spark some interest for some of our property owners.
What date is that?
August 9th.
Okay.
It's a
Yeah, I saw
Tuesday.
that, but unfortunately, it's in the morning, so
Yeah, it's a tough.
we got Louise. Louise is going to be on that.
Sergio, I have a question. So I was, so darn it, Scott was on the downtown
That's right.
thing, and I was looking forward to working with him, and I was waiting for him to call, and now who's that going to be?
Right now, it's going to be staff liaison's going to be Rob DiMahowski's principal planner.
Robbie? Okay.
Rob Danowski's going to go downtown? Is that what you said, Rob? Well, I thought he's out in North, he's like in our area, South Moore Hills.
Well, I want to get.
He's a
everywhere.
well-rounded planner.
Yeah.
Well-rounded planner can handle all aspects
Projects
of the city.
come up and they say, put Rob on it.
Rob is like on it.
Calling Rob tomorrow and say, let's do something.
Rob, you'll like Rob. He's fun.
He's a good guy.
So with respect to your appointment to the Downtown Advisory Committee, so this body elected you to be on that board, but the city council hasn't affirmed those appointments yet. We have one waiting for that.
They're second guessing our choice. Yeah. It's a little iffy.
Write your letters.
You're not the only member. Other boards have not had their appointments made, so that
Okay,
will
so
most likely
it's not official yet.
not official yet.
We're seeing.
All right, I'm just excited. What can I say?
He's waiting for it.
We
yeah.
appreciate your enthusiasm, Vice Chair Morrissey.
That's good.
Okay, I think.
Adjourn. I have one more thing.
Yes.
I'm going to be out of town for the 2 August meetings.
Okay.
Thank you for letting us know.
Speaking of, I'll be out for the first one.
Ooh. Any movement on the R1 vacancy that you know of, or?
So we put in the request for council consideration, and we're waiting to hear back on when that workshop might be held.
So if we've got 2 gone, 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll still have 4 for the first one, and then you'll be back for the second one. Okay.
I think I'll be gone in September, but I'm here for August.
I'll be here in September.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think we're adjourned.
Thanks, Sergio.
All right, Sergio, that was a good one.